Welcome to Footy Fanatics episode 7. We have an amazing show in line today, and we've got fans from each club. We've got a Man City fan in Ricky, we've got Chelsea represented by VJ, we've got Manchester United, and I try and say that without laughing. We've got G in the house. G, what's up, mate?
I'm good.
How's it going, mate? Yeah, not bad,
All
mate. I
good.
hope your weekend was nice. Hope your Sunday was good. Hash, we got in the house as well, representing the red side of North London in the 7th minute of stoppage time. He's got a 7 on the end, and I think Sage is going to join us shortly as well to represent Arsenal. And then Sultan, the Liverpool fan, I think I don't know where he's gone. He's probably out in town right now, enjoying himself, but he's going to bring himself back home and probably join us for about 10 o'clock. So do stay tuned, Liverpool fans, for Sultan to come on. The running order for today's show is going to be, so obviously with the Man United result, and with it being such a crazy result, we're going to promote the Man United result somewhat. But what we are going to do is we're going to wait for Sultan to join at some point. In the meantime, we're going to start with Man City, Ricky. So you're going to start us off with Man City, mate.
Sure.
And then we're going to jump into Arsenal hash with you. And I know at 10 o'clock you're going to go, and Sultan's going to come in, and then we'll focus on the Man United one. G. So don't worry, mate. Don't have to wait too
That's
long,
that's
mate.
that's all right. I'll make up my excuses before then.
Yeah, you've got about half an hour, mate, just to get your excuses ready, mate.
Yeah.
There are no excuses for 7-0, but we will get into it. But welcome to the channel, everyone. And if you're new to this channel and you're watching for the first time, it's the Big Six debate every Sunday, 9 o'clock. A fan from every club, from Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea. We debate the results of the weekend. We will pick bones in other teams, and we'll keep it real and factual with a bit of bants, and we give you our views and strong opinions. So if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps the algorithms, it helps the show grow and the channel grow, and share it with other Big Six fans and other football fans. So we're going to have a Premier League quiz as well, and I'm going to squeeze that in somewhere when it makes sense. Probably halfway through at halftime, we'll have a Premier League quiz, and we will be picking the team of the week, where we go through every position from goalkeeper right to the striker, and we pick the best player of the weekend in that position. Man United fans, look away now. Right, let's kick off with the first game of the weekend. It was a midday start, Ricky. Manchester City having the opportunity to put the pressure on Arsenal for the first time in a long time. You had the opportunity to get the 3 points, put them on the board, and then put the pressure on Arsenal. So talk us through the game, the performance, the good, bad, and the ugly, and just give anyone who didn't get a chance to see the game, just give us an update. I mean, was the scoreline a good reflection of the game, of the performance? Was the scoreline represent the performance?
I think it was fair for us to win the game. I think it was a great game to watch. Being a City fan, I think it was well executed. Like early kickoff when we took advantage. On paper, like pre-match, we had won we had won four, drawn one, whereas Newcastle had lost two and drawn two. And in the last 12 head-to-heads between Man City and Newcastle, we've won 9 of the 12. So before the pre-match, we were expected to win this game, and we did win the game, which was amazing for me as a City fan. We had 55% possession. We had 8 shots in total, 4 on target versus their 1 on target, and our 8 corners versus their 4. So yeah, overall, from a statistics perspective, we really control the game. So in terms of like the way we kind of lined up, we lined up 4-2-3-1. So obviously Edison in goal. We had Walker, Ake, Diaz in defense, and Akanji center at the center back. In midfield we had Gundo and Rodri, and then we had my amazing player right now, Foden, KDB, and Grealish, with Haaland up front. So yeah, let's get into the highlights of the game. So it was 2-0. Phil Foden scored the first goal, a great goal, a solo effort. Making all these runs. He's now scored 4 goals in the past 3 games. He scored against Bournemouth, Bristol, and Newcastle. Don't know if any of you saw those 3 games, but Foden was man of the match in all 3 games, and he's really come to light now. He's been off prior to the last 3 games. He hasn't been in the team, and I think he's just been given a bit of freshness, and he's got a point to prove. This guy, obviously in the World Cup, he was one of the stars of the show. Post the World Cup, a bit of fatigue, a bit of injury. He's now kind of been brought into the team to replace Mahrez, and what a player he was. Absolutely fantastic. Man of the match, solo performance. So yeah, for me, he was a key highlight. Secondly, defensively, we were very strong. You know, Newcastle should have scored 2-3 goals. They had chances from Isaac, Joe Linton, Wilson, Guimaraes, but our defense was absolutely on par. We had Ake and Ruben Diaz in particular. They made lots of shot blocks, so that was really great to see there. My other kind of point I wanted to mention was that Bernardo Silva, like, he came on to replace KDB. Again, this goes back to our breadth and depth. So obviously Mahrez was left off, as was Alvarez, who's been scoring lots of goals. KDB was substituted in the 65th minute, and instantly Bernardo Silva, because at this point, basically Newcastle was started to control the game. They had more of the ball, but as soon as Silva came into the team, he started commanding lots of possession, and we took back that possession, and instantly he kind of fed off Haaland to score a great long range shot. So that was 2-0. But Bernardo Silva played fantastic for us. I have to also give a shout out to Grealish. So very aggressive, very attacking, very I would say, posing dangerous kind of runs into the Newcastle defense. And he has continued on, in form wise. The last 5 games I can remember now, Jack Grealish has got the backing of the manager, starting every single game, and keeping out some key players like Bernardo Silva, starting in the team. So he was fantastic as well. And I say that Haaland also looked like a threat. Like he had a few headers that went wide, and he continues to show that kind of overall threat. So in terms of summary for me, I think Newcastle should have scored 1 or 2 goals, but our defense is starting to come along now. And Ake and Akanji are not our normal starting lineup players, but it feels like Pep Guardiola is relying on these players and starting them, especially Ake, every single game. And they are kind of delivering in terms of defending solid for us. So that's really good to see. We've obviously got Laporte on in the subs, and he didn't obviously play. He's been linked with a move abroad for us to get Guardiola as a replacement for him, or like for like swap. But the fact that Ake is keeping out players like Laporte is again really great to see. And obviously we've got Rico Lewis, who's been playing fantastic as well, but I think he was rested for this game. So I guess in summary, my view is that we're coming on now. Like, this is like we've just finished going around the bend now, and it's at the home straight. And I think City are now showing that kind of, that basically reliability, relying on some players, big name players, but as well as players that don't often tend to play. We've got a lot of players on the bench, like Cole Palmer, Bernardo Silva, Laporte, Calvin Phillips. I don't know if you guys saw him against Bristol City, but he played amazing as well. He kept out Rodri in that game. Rodri was rested. So Calvin Phillips didn't play, Stones didn't play, Alvarez didn't play, Mahrez didn't play, and KDB was taken off at 65th minute. So it just shows our breadth and depth as a team. I personally think, to summarize my view on this overall game and how we're going to be tracking going forwards, I think that is great. I'd prefer to be in this position. We're chasing Arsenal, and we're seen now as an underdog. Like, obviously we're expected to. Before the season started, we or Liverpool or one other team potentially were kind of predicted to win the Premiership. But the fact that Arsenal keep leading, in a way, like we're seen now like the underdog. It's now Arsenal's. It's basically theirs to lose, is the way I see it. We've got them to play. And the other key thing I wanted to make was our squad is now rested until the 15th of March. That's our next game against RB Leipzig. So that's going to give us a good amount of about 10 days to kind of rest as a team. There's some strong fixtures coming up, big games coming up, but I think it's a great mindset to be in. We're off the back of now we're unbeaten in 9 games now, and things are looking positive for City. I would say I'm obviously disappointed about the Arsenal result, but which we'll come on to later on. But I think Lady Luck, I think, will start to die out for Arsenal. The fact that they were 2-0 down, they came back, and I think 2 other games there was obviously some decisions that went against them, but I think overall we are not riding our luck. We are dominating, and we're going forwards, and we're defending as a team, and overall very solid.
Fair enough. I'm just going to ask one question, then we'll open up the mic to everyone else. The 3 at the back and the 4 at the back keeps changing with Pep. What's the method behind his changes? Is it personnel availability, or is it purely tactics?
Yeah, so like obviously Rico Lewis has been playing for the last 3-4 games in a row, and he's obviously a youngster as well. I think Kyle Walker's got that pace. to keep up with the likes of the three strikers that Newcastle have that got a lot of pace as well. So I think that was a tactical decision there. And yeah, I think there's like Laporte's, he's injury prone. He has been injury prone, and it is difficult to keep all players happy as well. He's not very happy the fact that he's not playing every single game. I think it's been a tactical kind of, play from City. And I think it feels like it's working a treat. Obviously, if it didn't work, then we'll be gunning Guardiola right now. But it feels like it's coming to light now, and it's all good to see.
Cool, man. Anyone else want to start with the questioning with City, guys? Any questions for Ricky?
I watched the game. It was the early kickoff, wasn't it? And I mean, Newcastle are having a bit of a blip at the moment, aren't they? As well, they went out.
Yeah, they haven't won. They've only won one of the last 8 Premiership games. It feels like the buzzers coming to is slowing down basically. Like, obviously the game against United, the final, like it's probably the best time to play Newcastle when they're on a losing streak there. The fact they've only won one of 8 games it's just they're great at playing between the boxes, but they just can't seem to kind of take advantage of of scoring the goals. And I think again, City were quite defensively strong, but on another day, if it was another team like say Liverpool, I think it would have been much more of a closer affair. But it just feels like they can't finish. Is my summary.
Yeah, they were the same against Liverpool, weren't they? And Liverpool were down. Newcastle were down to 10, and they were creating the chances still, but they couldn't put them away. And whether you've got 10 or 11 on the field, your attacking players are still there at the front. And they couldn't convert. But City just looked so natural to them, didn't it? I mean, Grealish has definitely come on a lot. He seems to be very comfortable now. He's playing well. He's doing things for the team. He's making an impact. And it just feels like City are just not out of second gear. I mean, every time I watch them, it just feels like they're not the City that Liverpool were chasing down 2 seasons ago, but they're still grinding out results. And I do agree with you, Ricky, on one point, where you sort of say, well, Arsenal are full pelt at the moment, right? They're giving it everything. There's so much energy in all of their performances. And that result could easily have been a draw at the weekend and City banging it, right? You definitely, make them huge favourites, even though there would have been 2 points in it. But now they're 5 points adrift. A lot of people are like, well, hang on a minute. Arsenal were 8. They're now 5. Yep. Surely City are just going to, go on and win this. And as you say, their luck's going to run out a little bit. Those wins may end up being draws in a few games time. And
I think
never know.
What's going for us as Foden just feels like a new signing for us. So that's really key. My only kind of danger here or call out is that with Arsenal, like the Europa League, they're obviously going to qualify for Champions League next season anyway, because they're not going to finish below 4th. And they're just, I guess we'll come on to this later, but the question is, and I've been asking myself, is if I was Arteta, would I just throw in the Europa League and focus on the Premiership? City are not going to throw in the Champions League because that's what we want to go for. So that might be our ultimate downfall in terms of we're going to go for the Champions League. That might be our distraction, which Arsenal potentially throw the Europa League and they'll be able to focus on the Premiership. That's the only thing I can see here. Or City just basically get injuries, but we've got a great depth of players. I think it's just will Pep Guardiola just tinker so much and mess things up again. But overall,
but that could go the other way, couldn't it? That could go the other way. City might forfeit the Premier League to go and win the Champions League if they smell that is more. We're kind of in the mix. That's going to happen. You never know that. They might sort of take their half an eye off the Premier League, and it may be to the benefit of Arsenal.
Yeah. So we
imagine Arsenal fans will be supporting Man City on Tuesday because they want them to go deep in that competition, so that you guys take your eyes off the prize. And obviously, the more games you play, the more chances of injury and fatigue.
Yeah. All I know is I don't think we'll forego the Premiership. I think we'll go for both. It's just not in Guardiola's. It's just not the way he's programmed. Being a City fan, I don't think so. I think we're going to go for both, but I just don't think Arsenal are going to. My view as a City fan. If I was an Arsenal fan and if I had the choice of the Premiership or the Europa League or both, I'll just go for the Premiership because Europa League, you're in the Champions League anyway. It's a distraction.
Yeah. just before we continue, lads, big up Sage. Thanks, Sage, for coming on, mate. Good to see you again, mate. And I'm sure you're still buzzing off that 7th minute bad boy goal, man. What a goal, mate. If you're going to win it, that is the way to score. That's Danny Rose debut stuff, that is. I remember Danny Rose scoring against Arsenal with a similar goal. He smashed it, top bins from the outside of the foot. Let's get some views from the Arsenal fans, man. Do you guys think on the basis of what Ricky said there about, you know, Arsenal, and VJ said Arsenal are in 5th gear, City are maybe finding that 3rd, 4th gear, not really up to full speed. Do you buy that, or do you look at it and go, doesn't matter, we're in 5th gear, and that's all that matters is what Arsenal are doing. We don't care about City and what gear they're in. As long as we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to bring that title home, right?
What I'd like to say is that if you look at last season, the way Man City won the league, right? They came back from a lot of like positions where they're 1-0 down, 2-0 down. I'll give you an example, that performance yesterday at Arsenal, that reminded me of when Aston Villa went 2-0 up and they came back and won the title. You know, they did that a lot of times last season. So it's like Arsenal never really come down 2-0 down. We probably get a draw, but we never win. Aston Villa, you know, 1-0 down, 1-1, then 2-1, then we won 4-2 after that. And yesterday, same thing. So it's just a different Arsenal this year. Very different Arsenal compared to last year. We'll just capitulate, lose our heads. But this year, just different. You see men out there, you know? What about you, Sage? What do you think?
No, I agree. It's a different Arsenal. Like, last season, we saw a glimpse of what Arsenal could potentially bring to the table when we played City last year. And even Pep afterwards, after the game, was like, I'm actually scared of Arsenal. And we see what they're saying next season, and look what's happening this season. So in regards to what everyone's saying, I'm not worried about what City's doing. As long as City keeps dropping points and we keep going full pelt, it's all good to me. Like, and I don't really think like the Europa League really matters like that at the moment. Me personally, as an Arsenal fan, I'd rather just go for both, because we haven't won a European trophy in ages. And if it's a chance that we could win both our Champions League, because that's going to be their best. Yeah.
I think the next couple of games are going to be quite key, because with Man City, we've got Palace away. Arsenal got Fulham away, and we've got Liverpool at home, and you guys have got Palace at home. So the next, I think, like if we lose to Palace away and you guys beat Fulham away, that's 8 points, and that feels like, again, there's still obviously lots of big games to go. Like you guys have got Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle in a row, midway through the fixture list. But I think the next 3 games are going to be quite key in terms of setting the pace to how these things kind of go. And going to Crystal Palace away at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, which is next Saturday. I think it's I don't know. I think that's our next Premiership game. That's going to be there. It's in front of us, isn't it? 11th of March. That's going to be quite a tough game to go to. Do
you play before then, Ricky?
So that's our next game, 11th of March, isn't it? And then we go to Leipzig on the 14th. So we've basically got a break now until next Saturday for a change.
So Arsenal play before you, yeah?
Arsenal
play Fulham on the 12th. So Arsenal play after you, man. They play on Sunday.
They do on Sunday. Yeah.
So Arsenal are going to have that pressure on them again. They're going to be down to 2 points.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Fulham away is going to be tough one. It's going to be tough one to inform as well.
Yeah.
So, Ricky,
I was going to say, go for it. G, go on, mate.
I was just going to say, it's kind of a little bit written in the stars for Arsenal right now. Yeah, that goal from Reece Nelson, that kind of reminded me a bit of the Company goal. Do you remember that goal? That basically set you on.
Yeah.
It's that sort of moment in the season where I think it could galvanise Arsenal all the way to the title, because what they will have in the back of their mind is they just need to do the best that they can do. And if they do that well enough, they will pick up those points. They're going to have more wins than losses, and that's going to take them through. It's where Man City dropped the points. I think you're into a purple patch now, Ricky. I think I think City will struggle to lose. It's going to be a hell of a finish.
Yeah, I think basically Arsenal have got Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. They've even got Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, teams that got something to still prove. Their season is still up in the air, so by no means they haven't got any easy opposition. But I agree that a lot of lady luck's going in their favour. The fact that Reece Nelson's, I think has he ever scored a goal? I don't think he has in the season.
One, I think,
No, you did.
No, he's got a good record. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in 3 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
in the PL.
So
Yeah.
And Anthony,
yeah.
who just happens to be better than Josh, and that's about it. But yeah.
Yeah, listen, man, I'm not on those wages, mate. You know what I mean? Put me on those wages, mate. I'll be everyone.
All those tattoos, Josh.
Hash and Sage, is there a worry that there's a lot of last-minute goals? There's a lot of goals conceded, whether it's Villa, whether it's City, whether it's the weekend. Do you guys worry that there's some complacency kicking in at the back? There's, you know what I mean? Like, as we get into that pressure cooker now, last 11, 12, 13 games, do you feel that it's a mentality switch off? Or do you feel it's fatigue? Or do you just put it down to one-off errors? Like, do you see any poison kicking in now into this?
Josh, you see yesterday's game was a bit unlucky. Look, we conceded in the first 7-8 seconds, or I don't know how. That was quick. I just got my stream up running, and that's it. We conceded. I was just like, what's going on? But they had one corner the whole game. They scored that corner, so it's one of those days where it's not going your way. But then we responded really well, man. So, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Once that second goal went in, I thought it was over. I thought it was over. I don't know if you're watching the game, Ricky, but what do you think at 2-0 down?
Yeah, I was driving back from Leicester on the M1, and I was listening to it on the radio, and I just Zinchenko hit that shot and it went wide. I thought that's it, game over. But then, yeah, I was basically just had my head in the steering wheel almost without trying to crash. Like, it was really, really annoying. But I take solace from the fact that we're still I think Arsenal are quite emotional about this, like, whereas City are taking it as in a controlled way. We've been here before. I think a lot of pundits like Paul Merson and all these kind of people just saying, yeah, it's Arsenal's to win now. It's Arsenal's to win. But let's not forget here. Look, you guys have got Chelsea, Newcastle, Man City, Liverpool. There's like another. I think there's like about 10 more games left, or 9 more games left. We've still got a lot of games to play, and we've still got 2 European Cups that both teams are playing in. There's a lot of players that can potentially get injured. So I as a City fan, I'm still not worried. If I'm really, really being honest. This game, in my eyes, should have been a win for Liverpool, for Arsenal anyway. The teams that I think you might slip over with is Newcastle, Chelsea, and potentially ourselves and Liverpool.
Yeah.
So this was a banker 3 points for me for Arsenal. So I'm not. I feel frustrated by it, but this is football. It happens. We've been there as well. We've scored last-minute goals, but in my mind, I thought you're going to win this anyway. This is not the game that I found will be the banana slip for you guys.
Yeah, that's quite true actually. And to be fair, I did watch the game back on Match of the Day, and Bournemouth had more than the two goals they scored. Right, there was one where I can't remember the 2 players. I think it was Slanky and someone else. They sort of mixed. They didn't know which one was going to go for it, and in the end, they both flunked it, and Ramsdale cleared it. Yeah, so it could have potentially even been a third, and then you definitely would have been out of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can only beat what's in front of you, and they did beat them. And you're right, Ricky. This game was. I mean, if you had an acca on it, Arsenal would have been there as a winner, right? First one on the team sheet. Agreed. But yeah, sorry. One thing I wanted to say was that I do feel what I was saying earlier on is that City have sort of still sort of second, third gear. They're getting by with their performances. It feels like they've been there, done that before. Arsenal, it just seems like with every game. If you look back at the scenes yesterday, with the goal, and of course it's emotional. It's the first time they're going to win the title potentially after 9 years. It did feel like they had won it. That was the Premier League winning goal. That's the thing. It'd just be a massive come down if they didn't do it now, wouldn't they?
So, say just one question: does Reece Nelson get a statue at the end of the season? If you guys,
that's it. That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
No. He's been good, but no, he doesn't deserve a statue. No. If anything,
Arteta.
There's only one player that deserves a statue, and that's Saka. You can't lie. Saka's been that guy for us. But to answer the original question at hand is, you know what? I'm going to be the honest Arsenal fan. Yeah, I'm a little bit scared because we are showing defensive frailties. Let's be real. Like, we shouldn't be conceding 2 goals like that against Aston Villa. And the way we conceded against Bournemouth, the whole team switched off. Like, what's that about? Usually Arsenal kick off, we're on the goal. So that wasn't good. I'm not going to lie, that wasn't good. But we have that fight and drive and that emotion to keep going and to win the game. Like, that Reece Nelson goal tipped it off because he came on through Emil Smith Rowe, which a lot of people say he didn't have a good game. I would say he was very passive, but he still got an assist. He set up that Partey goal. And with Reece Nelson himself, he came on, got an assist to Ben White, and he scored a winning goal. So Arteta knows what he's doing in these situations as well. With the Villa game, he made a couple subs as well, which showed up the midfield, and we won the game 4-2 in the end. So there's things to be scared about, and there's things that I take as a positive as well. I'm a bit annoyed that Trossard's injured, though. I'm not going to lie to you. He's going to be missed. That's a problem to me. That's a big problem because no Nketiah, no Trossard. And our next game is against who? Is it Sporting Lisbon? Before we go to... Yeah, that's a big problem to me. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't see who's going to play up front with Martinelli that well as Trossard. I just don't see it right now. So as a Man City fan, I'll be very happy that Trossard's injured because I see us having problems going on now.
How bad's the injury, Sage? What is it exactly? Is it just they don't know at the moment?
They're not sure. He's still being assessed, but they're saying he'll probably be like 2-3 weeks.
Ooh.
And we got some crucial games in the next 2-3 weeks for us, I'm concerned. So, yeah.
And already still got Eddie. We got Nelson, Martinelli, Saka. So it's looking right. It's fine. And got we got a lot of people come back from injuries. Man. Smith Rowe just came back as well.
Yeah, but who can play? Well. But who could play up top like that right now? This is what I'm saying. We'll just put
Martinelli through the middle and put Nelson. He deserves to start. He has to start after those goals. Yeah, come on. He came on and he was single-handedly. He made a difference. Got the assist and the goal.
Yeah,
he did that last time when Saka got off injured. He scored 2 goals that time as well. And he played in a Europa League fixture, and he created that wonder assist. So he got injured after that, so it was a bad luck. But I think Reece, deserves a start. He needs to start against Sporting next week. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
But yeah, you're right. It's not. You're going for the title.
What do you think about defensive footies right now?
Defense, like I said yesterday, we got really unlucky. At the start of the kickoff, they just pushed it down to the right. Our players switched off. It just rarely happens. You concede like the first 12 seconds, and then the corner kick. Like I think what happened was if you watch
sorry to interrupt. No, sorry to interrupt, but time and time again we're seeing Gabriel and Saliba making crucial mistakes, or just the man fully overpowering them or pacing them, and that's becoming a recurring issue. Don't you think that's something that needs to really be addressed?
But during the game, you would have seen like Saliba, Gabriel they defended quite well. They had like a couple chances in counter attacks. They defended quite well. But if you look at the corner as well, like they're just time wasting. They're walking to the corner flag, just walking. And then I think Odegaard just switched off. He wasn't even looking. He didn't even know the ball was played. When they put the ball in the box, Odegaard didn't even know the ball was coming. It's just little stuff like that. We just switch off, but we just need to improve on that. Just be focused throughout the whole game.
Could have been costly, boys. Could have
been costly, but we defended well against. We defended well against Leicester as well. Kept a clean sheet.
Because that would have been that would have been 3 points then at the gap, not 5. And then obviously, with you playing Man City away, Man City would have looked at them 3 points and gone, "Thank you very much. We'll go above you on goal difference." And then the pressure's really on. Like you've had a nice buffer. You had the game in hand, and there was always a nice insurance there. It feels good having a game in hand because you just feel like, okay, the pressure's not that bad. And then you had obviously the last minute win against Villa, and you thought, okay, that was tough. Don't want to do that again. You beat 4-0 Everton. Okay, back to business. Lovely. We'll have some more of that. And then you go 2-0 down, and it should have been 3-0 down if Matey had just squared the ball or just put it in the back of the net. Let's be honest. It was, it wasn't an amazing. It was a good save. Ramsdale saved really well. He made a decision and went for it. But a better striker would have put that in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Bigger teams are going to punish you guys, and Arsenal's home form is a bit of a worry because we've seen the Emirates lose a bit of its, you know. Man City obviously did what they did. Bournemouth for the first half. Are Arsenal a better team on the road, or Arsenal a better team at home? Because I hear Arsenal fans saying, "Don't like playing at home, prefer to be on the road."
Now, Josh, if you look at it this season, West Ham were losing 1-0 and we came back. Man United, same thing, 1-0, we came back. And, it's just the home games, we're showing good form that we can come back to these games and win the game.
Yeah, I agree with Hash with that one. I agree with Hash. But the one thing I'll twist on his statement is that on the road, we are more defensively strong from what I've noticed compared to at home. But at home, it's going to be a hard time beating us or even getting a draw.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's only Newcastle and City have made us drop points at home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, fair enough.
With that being said,
yeah, just the last point. There's just the point I made about there's a lot of football to be played. You guys, Arsenal and City, we've got teams to play at the top of the table and teams that are involved in relegation. Those teams that are in relegation, like West Ham, Southampton, they're going to be fighting for their lives. So every single game is going to be a tough game. Like, there's no easy game.
Yeah, there's no easy game. I agree with that. But we just need to do our business. Home games, we need to win all the home games, and away games, we just need to, grind it out. That's where the defender comes to play. You have to defend really well when you go to away. So, it's gonna be every game's gonna be difficult. That's what I keep saying to you. One game at a time. But I think the next 3 games, if you win those 3, then the pressure will start to kick in. Those last 10 games, then we'll see us make or break.
So, Hash and Sage, man, after this weekend's results, seeing Man City do what they did, seeing Arsenal get over the line in the 7th minute in the dying seconds of that result, obviously you're going to back your team for the title. I wouldn't expect you to say we're not going to win this title, but has your confidence level dropped, or do you just see that result and the Villa result as just that's not always going to happen? Because now you've lost Trossard. Xhaka didn't start. I don't know if he needed a rest. Obviously, Thomas Partey was back. Jorginho wasn't even on the bench, I don't think. So
I think he had a little knock. That's why.
He had a knock, yeah. So is the wear and tear physically and mentally catching up, or are these just one-off blips that you just look at them and go, next time we take our chances in the first 70 minutes? How do you look at it? Because I'll be honest, I'm starting to see some cracks, and I'm seeing City get better without Haaland scoring. And there's a little worry there, guys. If I'm just putting if I was to take my Tottenham hat off and put an Arsenal hat on, I'm a little bit worried, guys. I mean, there must be a little bit of worry there, man. Like Gabriel making silly mistakes, losing focus in the first 30 seconds of the game. There's some little cracks appearing there. I mean, do you just think it's going to be one of those where you just keep outscoring the opposition and it is what it is? You can't keep winning on clean sheets and outperforming the opposition. You've just got to take your chances and just keep creating and try and outscore the opposition, because I think that back door is starting to open a bit.
Well, Josh, these kind of games where you see Aston Villa and Bournemouth, these kind of games, you need them in the title race. 2-0 down, you come back and win 3-2. Villa as well, losing twice and coming back. You need this type of games. It gives a bit of belief, spirit as well. So you can go to any team. Any team knows that if you go 1-0 down, you can come back. Before, I never thought like Arsenal could come back from 1-0 down, 2-0 down, probably get a draw, but never to get a win like that, man. Never. Yeah, and there are some. We just need to be more solid. Before, like when we had those lot of games, I think to start the season, I think we had a very good defensive record. We kept a lot of clean sheets, but now we are conceding a lot of goals. Especially, I remember United conceded like silly goals there. City giving the ball away. That cost us the game, giving the ball away. And you're right. There's a bit of crack, but we just need to tighten it up a bit, and just we improve every game. We just need to improve. That's it.
What about you, Sage? A little worried, or?
I'm not too worried because the team's young overall, so they're going to show a little bit of inexperience in certain situations, a little bit of fatigue and frailty as well, because a lot of these guys have played a lot of games. So I'm not too worried overall because we're showing that fight that we will dominate games and we will win. We won't drop points. We won't lose. And I like that about Arsenal at the moment. We've been showing that throughout the entire season. Even with the Man United game, when it went to 2-2, I kind of felt like we just dropped points to United. Like they've done it. But Nketiah getting that last minute goal, passion. Yesterday, Reece Nelson, last minute goal, passion. Even the 1-0 win against Leicester, Martinelli, with the bad form he's having, goal, passion, back on form. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just these fixtures in April, I'm a little bit worried because that's going to be crunch time. That's definitely going to be crunch time. But right now, I'm not too worried because by then, Gabriel, certain players will be back. Trossard will probably be back by then as well. And we will see what this team's really about. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, Jesus played. I think they played a game. I think they played a little mini game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Jesus coming back, but I wouldn't even throw him. I'll just throw him after the international break.
Yeah. I would do that as well.
Yeah, after
Give him a bit
international
of
break.
time.
Yeah, you're forgetting Jesus is our main striker, is our main player, man. When he comes back, then you never know. Our attack will just be lethal again. And the teams that
why is it
the local block will beat them.
So guys, let's pop the bubble a little bit, yeah. So why is it that Arsenal are going behind to these teams? So Bournemouth, I've just looking at the table, they've conceded 51 goals. The next worst is Southampton at 41 goals. So if Arsenal were going to come back against any team, it was going to be Bournemouth. Yeah. So why is it that Arsenal did go down 2-0 and then obviously they had to come back? Shouldn't they be absolutely sailing in that game? And you could say, okay, well, Bournemouth got lucky with a couple of goals. Aston Villa are sort of a mid-table side. Same story there as well. Why ain't Arsenal flying?
The answer to that question is what it is, right? So if you look at all these teams, they're coming to, they were doing a low block. They just thought,
that's what I was about to say as well.
That's what they do. Josh knows that as well. If you mark Saka, if you mark Martinelli, stop the balls going to Odegaard, then you're gonna stop Arsenal. That's what they're doing. The same thing. Put a low block and just get them on the counter and waste time. Take longer throw-ins, walk to the corner, and goal kicks taking forever. You seen that Aston Villa, like Martinez, they did that. You saw the goalkeeper as well. Like yesterday, he's taking time to take goal kicks, walking to the corner flag. That's the tactic now to beat Arsenal. Waste time, low block, catch on the counter. In a way, it puts respect on Arsenal. They always put. If you look at the City game, they were wasting time as well. We had more possession against them. So a lot of people, a lot of teams, they are like come to Arsenal just to defend and catch on the counter. If you look at games, when I watch United, sometimes a lot of teams, go out trying to beat them, and United catch them on the counter.
Yep.
So that's why I think.
But isn't that the art in winning the title? So City will know all about this. Is undoing those locks. Like just finding ways to beat those teams. And Bournemouth came and scored 2 goals, but still sat back. Right, is what you're saying. So they got the lead. They protected their lead. They got every right to sit back because they've 1-0 at the Emirates.
But that's what teams are doing. Teams are relying on set pieces, corner kicks, and that's it to beat Arsenal.
But that's what Everton did. And
that's it. So you've seen it, yeah. So that's what they did.
So does that worry you? The way to beat Arsenal or get a draw with them is to do that?
Not really, because we know what to do.
Nah.
We know what to do in the training ground. We know what to do. That's why I'm excited for Jesus coming back. That type of player, he'll beat like 1-2 players and create space for everyone.
And you know what as well? Like, doesn't people think that Arsenal are used to playing against teams like this by now? From the beginning of the season, everyone's been putting their players behind us.
Yeah.
Against United, even the United loss, what did they do? Sat back, counter us, caught us lacking big time, and we lost the game. Throughout the entire season, you look at every single game, everyone sat back against us. So these guys are used to it now. City are used to it. That's why they're so fluid in their play. That's why it's just nothing to them, second nature. Do you get what I mean? City, week on, week out, have to play teams that sit back against them. That's why City struggle against teams that actually do come against them. And that's when I'm a little bit worried about against Arsenal. What are we going to do against a team that's equally as dominating on the ball, which what happened against City? So that's why I'm not really bothered about teams playing a low block, because I know that we will find a way somehow. We're getting used to it. It's the teams that figure a way how to counter attack properly or know how to play our style in a better way, as City does.
But no one in the league can do that right now, so there's no one that can go toe to toe with us. If they try to, they'll probably get. I think the only team that tried to do it was I don't know what game it was. We just thrashed them. I don't
They
know.
got slaughtered. I know who you're on about, but I forgot the
I
team.
forgot as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Question, lads, before we close off on Arsenal is Arteta there subbing a sub. I like that. I like that management. I like the fact that he brought Smith Rowe on and he took him off. I like the fact that he's changing the selection, and he's still getting results. Arteta's not making many mistakes. The players are making more mistakes. We saw that with the first goal. The second goal was a set piece. Who was marking him? Just ran across the box, free header. No one really challenged him. They could have had 3 goals. Arteta is doing everything he can to show the fans that we got this character, like we can come back from losing positions, and you need that in a Premier League title race. City will tell you all day long, when we were down 2-0 to Aston Villa at the end of the season, we turned it around. When it was QPR back in the day, when Aguero scored that screamer, that was their first Premier League title, right? But Ricky, actually to bring you in as well, are you looking at Arsenal and do you see some naivety? Do you see do you see this the beginning of the end? Or do you sit there and think, do you know what? This reminds me of City as well. They're able to come back from 2 goals down and they're showing everyone that they've got that Manchester City comeback in them. How do you look at it, mate? What side of the fence do you sit on that?
Yeah, for me as a City fan, I just see ourselves as the number 2 here now. I feel like we've taken all the pressure off of us, and they're the leaders. And the minute they slip up, we're gonna pounce. And so that's one point. And the other point is the priority is the Champions League. Like, we want to go for the Champions League. Those 2 things for me mean that if we don't win the Premiership at the end of the season, but we win the Champions League, I would obviously be happy with that scenario. Obviously, would want both. That's the best scenario. But I just feel overall like the stress levels are not there right now. Like, we're chasing, yes, we're chasing, but I'd rather chase Arsenal than Liverpool, like I mentioned last week, because I just know that with Arsenal, there's going to be one game that they're going to drop points in, or there'll be 1 or 2 players that will pick up a niggle or an injury, whereas we've got the breadth and the depth to kind of cover for any injuries. My only worry with City is that Guardiola is going to potentially tinker a bit too much. But we're at the business end of the season now. I don't think he's going to leave off KDB or any player like that. Foden's coming in; he's got a point to prove. My view is, I just think that Arsenal haven't got it in them to go all the way without losing winning every single game and picking up 3 points between now and the next 12 games, which is till the end of the season. I know that there'll be either a draw or a loss somewhere along the lines, and we will pounce. And the fact we're playing them at home gives me a bit of comfort.
Yeah, I hope so. Just add to that, Ricky, about injuries and stuff. Look, we're missing Jesus. We missed Partey for a couple times as well, but we responded really well.
Yeah.
I was talking to Josh, like, if Partey goes, I'm gonna be worried. But Jorginho came in and filled a spot in.
Yeah, I think I'm referencing more the defense, like with your defenders. I'm not an Arsenal fan, so I don't really know what substitutes you have. But if you were to get an injury to Saliba or one of your other defenders like Zinchenko, who have you got to cover?
Zinchenko, like I said, we got Tierney as a backup.
Yeah,
He's not playing that many games, but when he comes on, he does make a difference. But you're right. If something happens to Saliba, Gabriel, then we are kind of screwed.
And Zinchenko is putting in the hours at the moment. He's putting in the runs. He's putting in the legwork right now. And when he was at City, he just couldn't play every single game. And it's probably because we had a big depth of team and we just didn't give him that opportunity. I'm really surprised by the way he's running every single game and playing every single game. But the way I've known him, because he was a City player, he's quite injury prone as a player, like Jesus, and he's obviously proved he's injury prone because he got injured joining Arsenal. I just think Zinchenko, or someone along your defensive lineup, will pick up a niggle. Yeah, and the fact that with us, like we can play B-rated players, i.e. subs bench players, and still put in a shift like Rico Lewis and Ake gives me a bit of comfort. The fact that Stones hasn't started for three games now, and he's a England player, he's in the England team.
Yeah.
The fact that Calvin Phillips was in the England team, the fact that Alvarez was a World Cup winner, these players, including Cole Palmer, like under 21 England player, these players don't play week in week out. Mahrez, our best player, I would say this season potentially, didn't start on the weekend, so it's dangerous, I would say. But anything can happen in football. It's just United. They won the final and they lost 7-0. This is a funny old season, very funny season.
Yeah, what a segue was that?
I've got Sully in the back end willing to come on. We're going to bring on Sully, the Liverpool fan, any minute now. And Hash, I know we're going to let you go, mate. Any last final messages to City fans? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're just focusing on your club and your fixtures. You hear there Ricky saying that we're ready to pounce and we're ready to come and catch you guys.
It looks kind of like Haaland right now. That's what he said.
Yeah, Haaland's not even firing City.
No, he's not.
Ricky, he's not even firing.
You talk about Haaland, man. Come on.
Yeah, what's going on with Haaland then? Tell us what's going on with Haaland, mate.
Yeah, so I mean,
should I put him in my fantasy team this week? What should I do, man? He's expensive.
Yeah, I think it's just a system we're playing. Like we're playing like players like Foden and like Mahrez. Like the players we've got like basically 5 strikers. It's just not. There's just other players like stepping in and eating the share of the cake in terms of goals. Like, but the fact that he's still got 27 goals is, if we win the season, he's gonna. If it's on goal difference, that's where he'll prove his value. And this is let's not forget, this is his first season. It's hard. We're still like just over halfway through the season, and all that pressure, like to come in and to score all those goals. Obviously, like teams have sussed him out as well. So,
but is the pressure getting to him? You think? He knows we're like Arsenal, top of the league. He needs to like get something in. He's never won the league before, has he?
A league,
yeah. My only fear is that, like, I've heard his agent, tapping him up at Real Madrid. I'm sure Sultan will be happy with that as well because he's got Darwin Núñez, who, I was Darwin Núñez and saying he's a better player. But I think that's my worry. He's only going to be here for 1 or 2 seasons and he's going to be off. I think he wants to win the Champions League. That's ultimately what he wants to do. So only time will tell. But as long as all the other players are scoring, I think Foden's the player to watch now between now and the end of the season. Let's see how he kind of, how it all pans out for him. Yeah, and I think onto that, let's go to United because I'm sure G wants to talk about United.
we need to go to United, man. The fact that you're carrying Haaland is a joke, mate. The fact that you're just babysitting him whilst you're going through this little rough patch, I love it, man. You got this amazing striker and he's not scoring, but it's fine. We got 6 other players. Yeah. That's where City are at the moment, man. What any other club would do for a Haaland right now, just to have them. City can get away without him. He can have a bad day at the office and you still win. So that says a lot about Man City at the moment. Hash, we'll have to let you go, mate. I'm going to swap you out for a Liverpool fan now, mate.
Cool.
So
see
you later.
Good luck with the season.
Take care.
Yeah, see you later. See you next week, mate.
Cool.
Hash
man.
Cheers, bro.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy, mate. 7 heaven, mate. 7 heaven. Hash AFC 7. I love it, man. He come in with the knives there for G. Right, let's
he came in
bring
with Bants,
on.
straight.
He came in talking of Bants. Let's bring on the salty
Sultan.
The Sultan, man. The Sultan of Liverpool, man. The man with 7 in his mind. He's got 7 lives. And let's bring him on. Here he is, the Liverpool fan. That I'm just going to let you go from here, man. I'm not even going to bring you into this, man.
First of all, I have to say good evening, gents. But G, thank you for showing up because mate, I don't know how you do that.
Any day, mate. Any day.
You should be hiding right because United fans, like, it's embarrassing.
Never hide.
Do you know what? Right, Man United came into this with a bit of form, right? They won the Man City trophy. They're in the
Sir.
Wicked
They're in
City.
the Europa League. No, sorry, Europa Conference League against Barca, right? So it was a good game. You know, they went through.
Mm.
So with a bit of form and Gary Neville giving it a large on Sky Sports, saying this, that, and the other, and rightly so, right? Because they've done really well in the last few months. But today, you know, the first 25 minutes, we should have been 2 or 3 up easily. United had better of the first half and could have scored, could have also scored a couple of goals. But then it was men against boys. You know, we taught them a footballing lesson. And you know your
Sarton's come with his Weetabix, huh?
yeah, your Casemiros and the butcher. He was, where did he go? Running off, right, like a pussy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, come on, G, 7-0, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've got a cousin who support in Leicester who supports Man United, and he was.
Is he still crying?
Me and him had bants, right? But he just went quiet. And you know, we did you what 4-0 last season at can't remember 5 at and OT, right? 7 this time round. What's going on, man? You know, you let in back 5.
Yeah. We let Liverpool have their final today, innit? Yeah.
But you know what's gonna happen now, right? Where game
you're gonna go and lose your next game 3-0.
Yeah. Well, game in hand, 6 points behind United. All I can see is get the fish and reel out. We're gonna reel you in, boys, because you know 13 out.
Let's
He's on fire, man. Give him some water.
He is, isn't it? He's give him some water.
13 out of 15, right? 5 clean sheets. Tough games against City and Chelsea. You know, Chelsea. I watched a bit of the Chelsea game live over the weekend. Then I switched to the Arsenal game because it was all happening there, and you know, like a really good win for them in the end. So I think they're set up quite nicely. But yeah, today 7-0. I mean, you know, some of the players like Roberto Firmino, what a legend. Won everything is with Liverpool leaving on a free transfer in the 8 seasons, done really well for what he brings to the team. You know, there was doubts about Cody Gakpo. I even had doubts. I was like, what does this guy actually bring? But you know what? He's starting to settle in. 38 million in a few seasons probably seemed like a bargain, right? So looking good. Diogo Jota's back. Nunes, you know, he's doing his thing now. Starting to do his thing. I think next season he's just gonna go. He's just gonna explode. Interesting that he plays him on the left-hand side. So when Luis Diaz is back, you know, it'll be interesting to see what the situation is there. I was gonna ask VJ. So we're linked with Mason Mount. Strong links. I think he's a good player, but you know, how highly is he rated at Chelsea? Because he wants a lot of money. I don't think he's going to get the money what he wants at Liverpool. That's for sure. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm reading a lot about that. Right, Liverpool seem quite confident that they're going to get him. I think, to be honest, the contract negotiations are put to one side. I mean, they keep getting reported as broken down and stuff like that. They're not. Yes, they haven't been done, but they're not broken down. They've been put aside, and it's going to be dealt with at the end of the season. Clearly, there's no negotiation there yet. But to answer your question, he's a great player. I would be devastated if he left, and then if he went to Liverpool, it'd be even more devastating.
Well, we've got Oxlade, who's been a waste of space for the last few seasons. To be fair, since he had that injury against Roma in the Champions League, Milner's probably going. So the homegrown quota thing comes in. So Bellingham, pretty much a done deal. Mason Mount, they're targeting. They think they can get him for about 40 to 45 million because he's got, I think, 18 months left on his contract. So that's what, and apparently Klopp rates him highly. So, and he can play in between the lines, centre midfield, on the wing as well. He's done. I think he's decent. So we shall see. But yeah, no, VJ, I was going to say I was watching the Chelsea game a little bit, and I wanted to see Mudryk, and he was on the bench again. And he has been in the last couple of games. What's your take on that? Is he more of a club signing like Bowley and not much of a Potter signing? Because 88 million is, you know, is he just bedding in, or what's the situation?
What I was going to say, Sully, hold that one. because we're on the Liverpool United segment.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
We'll keep it Liverpool United, but hold that one because you're on fire today, man.
I think he's running away with it. He's running away with it.
He's come like he missed last week, and he's making up for that and episode 3 and everything, man. He's just coming with the fire, man. And I wouldn't listen if Tottenham beat Arsenal 7-0, mate. I'd be in the same place as you, mate. You know what I mean? I'd be smashing it as well. So let's go back to the game. G, you didn't actually get a chance to respond to what Sully said.
So I think look, the first half I thought was quite even, right? And if we're looking at it in terms of the actual game, we shouldn't have conceded that late in the first half. That kind of gave the impetus to Liverpool, right? And even Gary Neville, I think, said that it was probably the best sort of away performance in trying to keep it at 0-0 and then sort of impose ourselves in the second half. Obviously, that didn't happen. That goal that we conceded, that was a great finish, yeah? But from Gapco, that was a great finish because he had stuff to do there. He had to move the ball and then get it to come outside of the post and back in. And that was a really, really good finish. And that sort of deflated us. I don't know what was said at halftime. They were all sort of given their Space Jam, bits. And then they came out in the second half and got absolutely destroyed. Now, in terms of the sort of collapse, what worries me is how good the players are in terms of that back line. And maybe they've been sort of playing above their station in the last few weeks, but the reality is they were destroyed at will by Liverpool. And if that game went on for another 10 more minutes, that would have been 10-0. Right? So it became... The goal that really annoyed me was when Luke Shaw tried to clear the ball. Don't know if you saw that. And he actually just it looked like a lazy kick against a Liverpool player. And then Dalot was behind the line for one of the other goals. This is the thing that I'm saying. When we're reliant on Rashford for all the goals, we struggle. Yeah, we genuinely struggle. And now you saw what happens when you've got 3 really good forwards and then you've got other forwards coming off the bench. So, kudos to Liverpool for playing really, really well in the second half. But in the first half, that game was evenly matched to the point where, either one of us could have taken the lead. And what was shocking was how tactically inept we were, because if I look at that, you can see the imbalance straight away, can't you? Right? Literally you could have 5 against 2 every time our 3 were up in the final third, and they picked us off. So 2 of the goals we conceded was from a corner in their half. So it's like,
do you think you got the formation wrong, because you got Casemiro and Fred up against obviously you've gone to attacking? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, basically, it's not just Casemiro and Fred versus the 3 midfielders and the 2 wingers, right? Because essentially that's how Robertson and Trent play. And Trent had a really good game as well. Yeah, and his quality is
awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, Robertson's assist was outstanding. But look at the finishes, right? The one-touch finish from Salah, that's just class. No one's stopping that. You could have 2 goalkeepers and then no one's stopping that. But I thought we got bullied a bit.
When Man United have been away this season and picked up results, what have they done differently in the Big Six? So what has been the game plan to pick up results on the road against the Liverpools? Obviously not the Liverpools, but against the other big teams. How have you won it? Is it by soaking up pressure and releasing Rashford?
I think so, but I think we also play our triangles really well. And I think I mentioned that last time as well. We can get ourselves out of trouble. But today we got bullied, right? And one of the things that was really obvious was Martinez's height and Shaw's height when it was coming in from Nunes and Canate. Yeah, we were losing that all day long. So aerial battles were being lost. You had scenarios where the second ball, if you watch that game, it's not the first pass. Usually United get the first pass in, they might pick up 50-50. Liverpool were winning every 50-50. And, they were hungry for it. And I think when Milner started doing sort of drag backs and step overs, right, and we can make all the Zimmer frame jokes around him, the reality is that's a bad day at the office for United. You don't want to be that person on the coach.
So are you
no one's talking to anybody on that coach today.
Are you blaming the players over the manager on this one? So you're saying that the tactics were okay, it's just the players that didn't want the second balls, or are you blaming the manager?
Yeah, I think it wasn't like a derby game, as Ricky said. Usually Liverpool Man United is like an FA Cup, crunching tackle sort of game. They're almost too nice about it. And there were times where I just thought we gave up after 3-4-0. Do you know what I mean? that was just poor from that perspective. And at that point, I'm pulling off my best players and just
It's a
putting them on the bench. If that's
It's a
over,
body
it's over.
language. Body language wasn't there, was it? Gee, like the big
It
players.
was
they're
horrid.
just like,
It was horrid to watch, and it's only a second half performance. That's the thing. To lose 6 goals in a half, that's Roy of the Rovers
I
stuff.
don't think that's
right?
been done. I don't think that's ever been done in the Premier
Yeah,
League.
we managed it, so thank you very much. We won the cup and we managed that this week. So
I partly agree. I partly agree with Gary Neville's assessment, where it's not a freak result because we played really well in the second half, but these things can happen. So against Madrid, we were the better team in the first half by far, and then they scored 5 goals in the second half. Where did that come from? We were the better team in the final last season. Their goalkeeper was man of the match. That tells a story in itself. Now, with United, the Anfield atmosphere, it can get to the best of people. So, and I think that today it happened. I think that they talk about the power of Anfield, and I think United felt that today, and they just completely capitulated. And G's right. It could have been about 10. Could have been 10 hags, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It could have been, but look, the other thing is Mourinho said this, right? And I always remember this. He said you'd rather lose 1 game 6-0 than lose 6 games 1-0. So I think there's a big piece of how we bounce back from this, how many points we're sort of collecting. I've always said that we're not in the title race until such a point that changes. That's not going to happen now. And I think what we need to do is just make sure our season doesn't fall apart off the back end of this result, because we galvanized after the Brentford result. But this sort of thing will hurt, and I want the players to hurt, because actually, this is also a hangover from the cup. Do you know how many teams go out and win a cup and the following game they go and lose? Now we can look at all the stats on these things. I want to see how they bounce back.
But
that's going to be the big thing.
Couple of points. One that Gary Neville made, like Bruno Fernandes as a captain, he's always moaning, whinging, like making excuses. And he's not the same player as he was in the first season, right?
Also, when he gets hit in the chest, he holds his face. Yeah, it was pathetic.
Yeah, exactly. And the second point is Anthony, 85 million.
Yep.
I think they've robbed you, mate, big time.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you got Gakpo.
yeah, exactly. For half the price, right? You can't even go past players, and he's a winger. So what's going on there?
But I think this is the thing, right? Anthony hasn't really kicked on. We had Sancho sitting on the bench, right? I don't know why he didn't come on. We've got Garnacho in the form of his life, doesn't play. So I think Ten Hag's got it wrong. And today, Weghorst just, he might as well have been a horse, Weghorst. There's just, there was nothing happening there. So there has to be a plan B. There has to be a plan B with United, and
the striker situation, United will be addressed in the summer. And Josh ain't gonna like it, but Harry Kane, Harry Kane,
have him at 29 years old.
Well, the guy you need to go after is at Napoli, Victor Osimhen, 24.
Yeah,
he's an absolute beast. 100 million at least. I think Chelsea might be. Chelsea are in for everything, right? So,
Chelsea are cashing in their crypto as we speak.
Yeah.
So
but no, look, I think it's a freak result.
Where do United go from here, G? Because I'm going to pull up the fixtures now.
I think we go and win. That's the only way to answer the critics, right?
Is there a risk of this being a collapse? You've won that cup, the worst. Whatever the worst cup in English.
The Man City Cup
trophy. Yeah. It's still a trophy. Yeah, you won the trophy. Nice day out. Beat Aston Villa. Beat Charlton.
They need to get a bigger cup for that. To be honest, it doesn't feel like that's a big enough cup. It looks like something you'd buy in a Poundland shop, right?
It represents the status of the cup. So this is why it's smaller than the other ones. But do you think? Do you worry about a mini collapse, man? Because you got Real Betis on Thursday, and then 3 days later you got your bogey team Southampton, and then you're traveling to Real Betis, and then you got. Fulham at home, Newcastle away. Do you worry about top 4, or do you think it's just
I think we'll get top 4. Newcastle, as Ricky said, 1 win in 8. Real Betis, they'll be galvanized as well by looking at this and learning from what Liverpool did. I don't think United can be this bad again. This is the thing. This reminds me of when we hammered Ipswich 9-1. So Southampton is our bogey team, and I do worry about Southampton because they're actually a really good team. Like, they're young, they're fast, they play on the press. They're a very good team.
But they don't have a manager at the moment, do they?
Well, they have that Spanish guy, don't they? And he's doing pretty well. He beat Chelsea and he's won the last game as well. So I think, yes, we're worried. Will we be worried for top 4? I don't think so. I think we've got enough to take us into top 4.
Are you going to make top 4, Sully, off the back of this, mate? 7-0, man. What more do you
But-
need? I
yeah,
mean, United are going to be shot of confidence. You've taken all the confidence out of United and
couple
sucked it all in.
couple of shows ago, I said, look, we beat Everton in the derby. That was a big result, right? Newcastle, you can say they were focused on the cup as a good result, and Man City did us a favour over the weekend, getting another result there. So it's 2 results, and then just about managed to beat Wolves. I think this is a big result, massive result for our season, because it's been a disastrous season for a number of reasons. But if we can finish strong and keep going, I think we can reel in United, because we're only beginning of March, and aim for that third place automatic qualifications in the Champions League again.
How many points behind are you right now? Just out of
With a
interest?
game in hand, 6.
Okay.
I think we're 6 points behind United, which is nothing, to be honest with you.
Chelsea, Arsenal.
And now I think with Newcastle, Spurs are a bit hot on cold. They win 1 game, lose 2. So I just think the momentum with Liverpool. I think we're out of the Champions League unless a miracle happens, but you never know, right? This is the Champions League. But if we keep going, the clean sheets are important now. 5 clean sheets on the bounce. That's saying something. We're scoring goals, which is important. So, and you can see from the screen now, 4 wins in the last 5, 13 out of 15. The momentum's there. Tottenham 45, Man United 49. It's possible. It depends how United go, how they take it. I think G's right. You go out and you win your next game. Yeah, bad day in the office, you move in. But the thing about the Liverpool United thing is it's a rivalry, and it matters, right? And 7-0 will be 7-0 will be imprinted in their head. Losing, that's bad for United. That's bad for any game.
It's the worst result. So wait for this. It's the worst result since 1931. Put that into
What
context.
about that 5-1? Was there a 5-1 at the Old Trafford? At Old Trafford.
5-0.
5-0.
It's 5-0.
5-0.
But this is 7, and this is the thing. In the last 4 seasons, we've only scored 1 goal at Anfield. That tells you how much of a bogey team Liverpool are for United.
And you know what? Shout out to Mohamed Salah, right? 129 goals in probably less than 60 games than Robbie Fowler, right? Absolute Premier League legend. Probably
and no coke in sight.
Yeah, every season he's been there, 20+ goals, right? I think there's a conversation to be had. Is he on par with Thierry Henry? Because the stats prove it. He's won everything.
Whoa.
Oh, so just like you went there.
I just wanted to clarify. Did Liverpool win 1 game, or did they win every single Premier League game since it started? I'm not quite sure.
Hold up. Are we debating Salah and Henry? Seriously?
Yeah, you've got to, because the stats prove it. The stats prove it.
What are the stats? Tell us about the stats.
His goals record.
Has he scored more goals? Has he scored more goals than Henry? Yeah, he's scored more goals than Henry, has he?
No,
well, Henry's played more seasons though, isn't it? But on ratio, they're probably on par. And think about it, right? So yeah, Henry started as a winger, but then he moved into central. But Salah's still out on the wing. So you got to look at them, man. Every season he scored 20+ goals. His first season scored 44 goals. It's just that, for debate. I'm just saying, like he's gonna go down.
He's an outstanding player, man.
Yeah,
he's an outstanding player, but he's no Henry. He's no Henry, and the reason that I'll tell you that he's no Henry, right? And this is the key thing. He actually was in that team where he started out at Monaco, okay, and then he obviously came to Arsenal. Came in from that left and played up front, and that team was probably the most attacking team, and that he could play anywhere. It didn't matter where he started. I think Salah is hot and cold. He might score 3 goals against Bournemouth or something like that, and then go missing for some of the bigger games. And if he was really going to go and win it, then let's see what he does against Real Madrid, because that's where the test is, right? And he is outstanding player. Like, don't get me wrong. I would say, close ball control and finishing, the best African player to probably ever come out, and play in that sort of Premier League level. I'm putting Drogba in that class. I think if you look at it, Henry's par excellence and over multiple seasons. Like the ratio, if you look at the ratio, then Haaland's the best player, right? Because even he's scoring more goals, right? But it's not the ratio; it's just the consistency of what he built at Arsenal as well, with the team around him. Perez, Manuel.
I think Salah's
Vieira.
one more. Is Salah one more? Did Henry win the Champions League with Barcelona?
He won the Champions League with Barcelona.
Oh, okay, he did. Yeah. As a sub. Yeah, I remember.
That's a sub.
Yeah, but we're talking
It counts. I'm not taking.
We're talking about the Premier League here, though, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're talking about Premier League, then Sergio Aguero would be up there as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If you're saying Salah's better than Henry, then you're basically saying Aguero.
No, I didn't say he was better than Henry. I said you have to have a conversation and a debate. Is this stats proof?
Is he better than Rooney, Sully? Would you rather have Rooney or Salah?
He's thinking about it.
Salah.
He's thinking about
Salah.
Salah, yeah.
No, Prime Rooney was the one. No, I don't know if I can agree with that.
Rooney scored 208 goals versus Salah's 100.
I think Sultan lives in the cop. But in terms of Salah today, I thought he was magnificent. I think he played really well.
He's
right?
coming good.
But
he's coming good.
He's coming good. And that season when Son also got the Golden Boot, I thought, Salah was the second guy, right? And joint first, whatever.
Look at these stats, right? Salah, 217 appearances for Liverpool, 129 goals, 52 assists. Mental. Off the scale. You cannot tell me, right? You can't compare him to these other great players.
He's better than Kenny Dalglish. He's better than Robbie Fowler. Is he better than Henry? I would say probably not.
I didn't say he was better than Henry. I said you got in with those stats. He's in the conversation. He's in the conversation. You cannot deny that.
Yeah.
You can say the same about Rooney.
No one's denying it. I think he's an outstanding player.
I think the assists. It's the assists, isn't it? He does more than just score goals, isn't it? It's the assists.
Yeah. Exactly. And you got to think about it, right? Rooney and Thierry Henry in the main play through the middle. Salah's playing on the right.
Let's put it out to VJ and Ricky, man. You've got nothing to do with Manchester and Liverpool in that way, in terms of the derby. What are you boys saying, man? Is Salah up there in the conversation with the Agueros and the Rooneys and the Henrys, or do you think he's a bit below that?
Yeah, so I personally think he is definitely up there. Like, as a City fan,
100%.
Playing Liverpool, like he'll always be a threat against us. I wouldn't say he's the best in the Premiership. I know you're saying he should be up there, but there are players that are like Alan Shearer, like Rooney, Harry Kane, Aguero. Like, I would probably put them higher, and then the likes of Salah would come after that, because surely by the fact that other players have been as consistent like Salah. I know he's won the Champions League, Aguero hasn't, but when you're looking at just the Premiership, like there has been players that have scored as many, or if not more, goals. But yeah, always a big threat, and God knows how many more seasons he's got at Liverpool. I don't know. Is there contract negotiations going on again? Like, how long is he there?
Yeah, he signed a 4-year deal in the summer.
Yeah,
right. So he's going to be breaking more records.
Yeah. He's always been a threat to City for sure. Whenever we played them.
BJ?
Yeah, I agree with that. To be honest, I think Salah's still playing at the moment, isn't he? I don't think he's Henry level yet. Could be. Like you say, he's still got his playing career. And at the end of it, you could probably judge them. I think it might be too early to sort of make those statements at this point. But he's a great player. I think anyone would want him in his. Anybody would want Salah in their team, wouldn't he? But I agree. I think someone made the point. I'm not sure who said it. He does go missing, doesn't he? I mean, against Real Madrid, supposedly, he wanted revenge and still hasn't managed to do it after playing them twice. What is he going to do during the week? They've got 3 goals, 4 goals, to get in front. So yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't share your enthusiasm, Sully, at least at this point.
He wasn't that enthusiastic last week. I should say that.
Well,
let him have his moment, people.
Exactly.
Let him have his moment, man. He's suffered. He's suffered a lot this season.
There's players like Jermaine Defoe and Vardy that have scored more goals than Salah so far. So, like, yeah, he's slightly below the
I
pecking
think in
order.
terms of Liverpool legend, then yeah, I mean he's up there. Like, is there
Yeah.
any players in the Liverpool legend category that are better than Salah? I mean, you got Gerrard, you got Dalglish, you got who else we got there? We got
Fowler, Owen.
Fowler,
Fowler,
yeah, Owen.
Owen,
Salah
yeah.
takes over them. Does he, Sully? Gerrard.
100.
Ian Rush.
Well, Gerrard was a different player, wasn't he? In a different
Mm.
position.
He
I'm
goes
talking
in the
about-
he goes in the all-time team, doesn't he? He goes into that Liverpool all-time greats. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. Well, look, we're going to close off on Man United's 7-0 thrashing away to Anfield. Boy, that was, mate, honestly, man, don't read the papers tomorrow, G.
No, no. Do you know what? I would
get
say
on the
English
first
isn't
fight
my
out of
first
it.
language, so I'm all right. I just look at the
Mate, that's
pictures,
gonna
like the
be in
Roy of the
every
Rover
language.
Arsenal. I'm
It's
good.
going to be in every language tomorrow, mate. Just don't go online. Don't turn your phone on, mate. Your mum
I
will
just
be
go by
telling
the
you
pictures.
tomorrow that Liverpool beat you 7-0. That
I'll,
news is
I'll,
going to
I'll start at the front.
Yeah. Just go on a long walk, mate, and keep yourself down for
I'll
a
keep
couple of
walking.
days. Keep walking, man, because you never walk alone, as they say. In terms of Liverpool fixtures, Bournemouth, you'd expect them to go and batter them. Real Madrid, can they come back off the back of this result? Real Madrid be sitting there tonight thinking, shit, 7 goals, mate. We don't want to be on the back of that. So who knows with Liverpool now? They're starting to show what they're made of, which is comebacks and, great nights. I just wonder if Liverpool get a goal at Madrid, everyone's tuning into that match. Then WhatsApps are going to be going off saying Liverpool are going 1-0 up. And if it's 2-0, then listen, I think at 2-0, Liverpool are favourites, even with 1 goal to be had. But obviously, Sully, with Real Madrid, mate, they pick you off every time, mate. It's like literally a bogey team, man. So we'll see what happens with that. And then
Junior and Benzema have something to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's the problem. And that if anyone knows how to get the job done, it is Real Madrid.
Real.
They know how to get job. Yeah, they have to get job done. They are literally mafia in football, man. They just get the job done. And then you've got tough April there, Sully. You've got Man City away, Chelsea away, and Arsenal at home. Wow. That is going to be the be-all and end-all of that top 4 race.
I think the Man City Chelsea game is going to be the hardest. But I can see us doing the Gooners at Anfield. We should have beaten them earlier this season at the Etihad. The Emirates for some dodgy refereeing decisions. But
that's going to be a good show. Can't wait for that show, boys. I can't wait for that show. That is going to be a show and a half, man. You lot better make sure you're free that weekend.
There's Sage saying he's not going to choke it.
But by then, Arsenal probably wrap up the title. I want Arsenal to win the title.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've played the best football so far this season, so and I've been impressed by Arteta and what he's done. You can see like what he's trying to build from a couple of seasons ago, and with Edu, the technical director bringing in the players and whatnot. So yeah, I hope Arsenal go on to do it because Man City have won it the last 4 or 5 seasons. You want a changing of the guard, right? Bring a bit more competition. United will be probably in the shake-up next season. Maybe Chelsea, see how it goes, but probably buy more players. Liverpool probably be back in it as well. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting title race next season.
It is, lads. And talking of title races and top 4 races and getting into that top 4 race, Chelsea, finally, lads. Let's all give VJ a round of applause. Well done, mate. 1-0 to the Blues. Smashed it, mate. Yeah, you tap that badge, mate. Kiss it. Give it the old name on the back. He's got Potter on the back. He got it done over the weekend.
It's a bit dusty.
Yeah, cobwebs, mate. That's nice, man. I'm glad you got the shirt out of the cupboard, mate. Gave it a nice little line. And let's switch our attention to Chelsea winning 1-0, clean sheet and a goal at the Bridge, man. They got 3 points and they're still in mid-table, obviously, but they're a little bit close to Spurs and Newcastle, who both dropped points on the weekend. VJ, Potter in or Potter out? Let's start with that. Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Do you know something? We won, indeed, definitely picked up the win. And weirdly enough, normally a win after so long feels like, everything's much better. We're going to, go on and maybe win a couple more. It still feels like a loss, weirdly enough. It still feels like we haven't won the game. Obviously, we did win the game. And I've been very patient with Potter. I do want to see him succeed. I've got nothing against the guy himself. But I just don't think he's going to turn it around. I mean, again, his post-match interviews were the same monotone that we've seen, when we've lost and when we've won. But look, I'm grateful for the win. We did win. We have to be a little bit careful as well. Like, we didn't go and beat a Liverpool or a Man United 7-0 or something like that. We beat Leeds 1-0 from a set piece. So it wasn't like we absolutely smashed it. However, Chelsea played well. And to be fair, even the games that we have lost, in parts we've played quite well. But in this game, we did do quite well. I mean, Havertz 1-on-1 with the keeper, tried to chip in. That's what Havertz does. Keeper knew what he was going to do. Easy save for him. That should have been 1-0. Nice bit of play. João Felix comes in, smashes the bar. Similar goal to the one that Salah scored. I don't even know what number goal it was that Salah scored, but one that basically came off of the underside of the bar and it went, and I think it was 4th goal for Liverpool. Same one, João Felix, but it comes out, right? So that's not a goal either. Raheem Sterling was fantastic. I thought he was probably one of the best players on the pitch, along with maybe Chilwell and Fofana, actually, who did score the goal. And yes, I lost my train of thought there. I was thinking about the goal going in, but yeah, no, it was a good performance by the team. Yeah, Sterling, he had a chance again in the second half, which he blazed over the bar. But yeah, I mean that was it, right? It was a good performance compared to what we have been pushing out the last few games, and since the last Palace game that we won, which was about 5 or 6 games ago, this was the next win, which seems like ages ago. But it doesn't move us off mid-table. We're still 10th. None of those problems have gone away. All the problems that we've been discussing are still there. I just don't think that Potter's the guy to take us forward. Again, like I said, we played well. There was no difference in this performance to what we had seen in the last 10 games. There was good parts, there was bad parts. Okay, yesterday most of it was good parts. But next week, that could be the other way around again, right? And, we end up losing. Leeds had their chances. On another day, they get a goal and they, draw 1-1 from the corner. Strangely enough, at the last minute, Meslier comes up from goal, and he gets a sort of a tame header, which Kepa was able to just collect. But again, that could have been easily a 1-1, and we walk away again disappointed. But yeah, I mean, you got to look at the positives, and I don't want to be one of those fans that always want to pick faults with it. It's a game that we've won. We played well. Couple of good players, like Fofana and Sterling, I thought were standout. Chilwell seems to be getting back to his best again as well. Obviously, we had Reece James out as well, so he didn't play. But no, all in all, a good day out, and quite happy with the result, of course.
Just before I open the mic to everyone else, VJ, on the whole Potter situation, do you think that the more time he's given, you're seeing something against Spurs? You were good for 20 minutes. Other teams, you've been difficult. Watching Chelsea's been difficult. You're putting your chances away, which is always, at the end of the day, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net. Do you think there's an argument to say that Potter has been unlucky because the forwards have been not putting their chances away? Because I've heard Chelsea fans say that too, say we do create chances, but it's putting them away. And then there's the Aubameyang debate. But on this weekend's result against Leeds, you did put the ball in the back of the net and you had something to protect. And that's what you did. So do you think that people have been harsh on Potter with that on the basis that your front line's not been firing at the quality or the level they should be?
Yeah, because defensively, we're not that bad, actually. And in terms of goals conceded, we're up there with the big boys now, what we call the sort of top 4. So it's not that. You're right in terms of front line and just not putting the goals away. It's almost like, we could sort of get to the final third and it's like, oh shit, what do we do now? And they kind of run out of ideas and they try a pass, they try a ping, and it just all breaks down. They sort of pass until they lose possession. I do agree. Then again, if we look at just yesterday's result, Havertz scores the first goal and João Felix scores the second one, and suddenly we're having a different conversation because it's a 2 or 3-0 win, and it's like, oh wow, the forwards are firing. But I agree, this was a set piece. Fofana was there. He got a header in. Fofana's not going to get those goals every day of the week or every, you know what I mean? He's not going to get them all the time. So we've got to rely on the front boys, and the front boys are not putting those chances away right now. And so you asked me a question about Mudryk. Mudryk hasn't even come on and played. He had about 10 minutes against Liverpool, and he looked brilliant. And everyone thought, goodness me, this guy's going to be like smashing it in every week. And since he's come on, he's only had bit part performances, but we haven't seen enough of him.
I had a question for you, VJ. I read something or heard about something during the week where currently, I think, I'm just going to pick a number, but it's around about that number. Chelsea have around 35 players in their squad that Potter has to manage. Now, Klopp, for example, and maybe to a certain extent Guardiola, they like to work with 18, 19 core players for their tactics and their setups and patterns of play, right? But with 35 players, you've got to try and involve them in the training session, keep them happy, keep them involved. It's quite hard to do, isn't it? I don't know if there's been chat amongst Chelsea fans that, and I think in the previous shows I've said, I think he's a good coach. He's proven it, obviously at Brighton and clubs in Sweden and Europe and whatnot. Maybe Chelsea might be a big step up, but I think he does need a pre-season, and he probably needs more of a say in what players they go after, because who knows if Mudryk was his signing or not. It doesn't seem like it, because if you're going to pay nearly 88 million pounds or 100 million euros, you're going to play him, right? Because to leave him on the bench, either he doesn't fancy him or there's something, or maybe he's just bedding in.
Yeah, we don't know, innit? I mean, you're right. There's so many players out there. When someone doesn't play, the assumption is he's not in favour of the manager. The manager doesn't like him. He doesn't fit the system. Blah blah blah. Right? We just don't know at this point. But he has played him. So who knows? But the problem is he plays Mudryk, and then you got Madueke, David Fofana on the bench. The striker. You're not playing him. So do you sort of think he's not in favour? So the problem is, until you bring that squad down to a reasonable level, like you sort of quoted 18, 19 players, which is, probably a fair number that you need to work with, then you'll know. If Mudryk's not playing, and he's an 18, 19 man squad, then clearly he's out of favour with the manager. He's not his signing. I do think that the signings that Chelsea make are partly club signings, and I do think the manager has a say, but I don't think the manager makes the decision. Get me this guy. Get me that guy.
VJ, does that hurt? Because how do you build a Pep legacy or Arteta legacy or a Klopp legacy without the manager at the forefront of exactly the profile of player that he wants? Do you think that's a weakness in Chelsea's model, that they just buy the player and say deal with it?
I think that there's two things going on here, right? Chelsea. I mean, when Abramovich sold the club under sanctions, he part of the agreement was that they would invest in the squad. But I think there's also these new owners are trying to build a bigger brand of what Chelsea is, right? They're in it for making money. They're not in it because they're Chelsea fans. So what they want to do is to get the best players available around the world and bring them to Chelsea. A Mudryk, a player, all these players that we mentioned, all of them. They're not in it to sort of, bring players through the academy like a Mason Mount and a Reece James. Of course, those players will still trickle through, but not maybe as much as before. So they're sort of fast tracking a brand, so they can, push the value up of the club. So in 5 years' time, it's worth, not 4 billion, 6 billion, 7 billion, whatever they want to do it. So I think there's partly that. So they are bringing players which should hit the ground running, which should propel that revenue going up. So I think the manager doesn't have much of a say, like he may have at City, certainly at Liverpool. But I also think that this is what I say is that I don't think Graham Potter's that manager that sort of goes in to the board and says, "Hang on a minute, this is the people that I want, or these are the guys that I want. You need to bring these guys in."
But he's got his recruitment team with him, hasn't he, VJ? He's brought his recruitment team. So you'd think those guys see each other every day and they talk, and then they go upstairs and say, "This is who we want," and then this is a B and a C. So the fact they brought him with his recruitment team would suggest that maybe times have changed at Chelsea now. The manager's bringing his recruitment team, not just his coaches.
Well, and that time will tell, right? So this is the first proper transfer window with the new owners, etc. And who knows? Part of that decision was already the investments that were lined up to be made in this window. I agree with that. But Graham Potter was on Sky Sports a couple of weeks back, and Gary Neville asked him that same question, and he didn't answer it and say, "Yeah, these are all my signings." He said, "We as a club make the signings." So that tells you that, they're not his signings. If they were, he probably would have said, "Yeah, these are the players that I wanted, and we bought them in." So,
I think that's a great question that Josh posed, which is Chelsea's model. So you go back to the Abramovich era, is kind of built around. I'm going to call out a couple of managers. So Gus Hiddink, Scolari, right? I think Scolari won it. The Brazilian man, he won the league, didn't he? Conte, he won the league. And these guys, Mourinho was different because, when he came 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was, he had a bit more control because of his personality, and he was a special one, right? So put him in, he's an outlier. But those other managers I mentioned, they're not managers that will come in and develop players. They come in, they want it ready-made, and they're going to be there a couple of seasons. And actually, Chelsea's model of kind of hiring and firing off a couple of seasons, right? Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League.
Yeah.
And then he got fired, right? It actually does work for Chelsea because they do win trophies and big trophies. And that's the model they go with. Whereas Liverpool, for example, more recently, Jurgen Klopp, I think it's been 7 years there, right? Man United, historically, they have managers, long term. Arsenal did with Wenger, and as such like. So their model does work, but when it doesn't, people are obviously going to pose questions. But one question I had with VJ, so with Eduardo Mendy, he tried to negotiate a bigger contract. He wanted on par with Kepa, and I thought he was a decent keeper, right? What's happened there? Now Kepa's kind of, we had that whole situation with Kepa a couple of seasons ago. We refused to come off, and then he was kind of banished to the sidelines. And now he seems like he's back in favour, and obviously he was highly rated in Spain. What's the situation there?
Well, Mendy's still injured, right? So he's not playing because he's out of favour, but he was out of favour because he started making silly mistakes. I mean, almost comical ones where he might as well have just kicked the ball in the back of the net. It was silly things like that. So he was dropped for Kepa for a bit, and then he was injured, and he still is injured. Although I think he's working back to fitness now, so you might see him playing some game. But Kepa is actually been better than before he was dropped for Mendy or replaced by Mendy, if you know what I mean. But I don't think any of the two keepers. I mean, Mendy had a great season, right? When we won the Champions League, he had an absolute great season, but then it just went all downhill from there. I don't think any of those two keepers are the ones that we would want between the sticks. If we were challenging like an Arsenal or a Man City, I wouldn't be confident with any of those boys.
Any questions, Ricky, Sage, for Chelsea?
I think just my view is, if I was this is my view, and I think a lot of big name players that are in Chelsea at the moment, they'll be looking at Potter and thinking, and we discussed this last week, and I still think it's true and very relevant. What has he actually achieved? And who is he to tell me that kind of where's the kind of that comms flow, and this is the Messiah that I need to follow, and he's my leader. Like, I just don't feel that he's got that authoritative status at the moment at that club. And you've got some really big players, and I think that will, at the end of the day, that's the key thing in my view that's playing to Chelsea's and Potter's disadvantage. The fact that he just got so many big players, and he just hasn't proved himself as a manager. And how can he command that respect and that kind of level of authority? And I think the Chelsea backboard and all these, the owners probably recognize this, and I don't think, in my view, Potter is the one long term. It's probably a very harsh comment to make, but I think being a fan of an opposing team, looking from outside at the Chelsea situation, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think Potter's the guy. I also don't think we need to get rid of him this season. There isn't that much of the season left, right? I mean, who do you bring in? But on the flip side, you're kind of thinking, well, if you're going to change him now. At least the new manager gets a preseason for next season. Or do you stick with Potter, give him the preseason like Josh said, and then you go, sort of, 6-8 weeks into the new season, and we're again, haven't won a game for like 10. Do you get rid of him then? And you already, you're sort of screwing that season as well. So there's a tough decision to be made.
Yeah, there are big managers out there like Zidane and like Pochettino.
I see slight parallels with when Arteta went to Arsenal, where obviously their model is different, and they weren't great shakes for the last couple of seasons, right? But you can see that he was trying to build something, and obviously he learned from the best in Pep, right?
Yeah, that's the difference with Arteta. He knows what it feels like to win a title, and he was a player at Arsenal as well. He has that link, whereas with Potter, he doesn't have any links.
Yeah, but
to Chelsea.
to be fair, Potter started in September, right? He didn't have a pre-season. Give him a pre-season. Give him a settled team as much as it can be, right? And then you can make the judgment. I think in football generally, people go after managers' head too quickly.
But that's the reality, though. It is a reality.
It is, yeah, as football business, right? But I think he's a good coach, right? And if given the time and the support, which I think he is getting from Bowley, I think he'll do a decent job. But that's me looking at him from the outside. Obviously, some Chelsea fans feel different.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think the only positive you can see in this, if Potter does go in a month's time, at least you could sort of say, well, Bowley and the board gave him time, right? Because a lot of fans by now are sort of saying he should be gone, he should be gone. Some of the pundits are sort of saying he should be gone. Paul Merson the other day was saying last week, he should be gone by now. So there's a lot of people calling for his head, then not calling for his head. Yeah, I'm still sort of 50-50. Who are we going to get in? Look, if you offered me Zidane, of course, bring him in. To Ricky's point, he commands the respect, right? He's got the qualifications. He's got the CV. You walk into any job and your manager hasn't done your job or doesn't know what the business is all about, and he's telling you need to do that and the other. You're kind of like, well, I'll follow your lead, but do you really know what you're talking about? Compared to someone who's been there and done that. And I think that might be the difference.
And also, I think he mentioned in an interview recently, like he is feeling the pressure, but his family have been threatened as well, and things like that, which ain't great, He's only human, right? And I don't know. I think they just got to give him more time, give him a pre-season, give him a settled team, and see what he can do. And then take it from there.
I think I was going to say with the whole family situation, obviously you don't wish that on anyone. But let's be honest, there's a lot of Chelsea fans, hardcore Chelsea fans that supported Chelsea through generations of their families, and the recent Chelsea fan has had it good. The recent Chelsea fans, the young Chelsea fans, the 20-year-olds, the 25-year-olds, all they've seen is glory. Most of these guys growing up. So they are going to be frustrated. They're going to feel this pain because they're going to be looking at their neighbours going, what the hell is going on, mate? This ain't Chelsea. But you speak to your legacy Chelsea fans, they're going, relax. Maybe give him till the end of the season. Maybe, see how things go in the summer. And you've got to look at these situations with an open eye, because Arteta was in the same place. You just mentioned that, Sully. 48 months ago or whatever it was, a year and a half ago, it was Arteta out. The fan base was split. There was toxicness in the club with the owners. And then look, it sorted itself out. And there is merit in backing your manager through these times. And Potter might be Chelsea's manager that then basically does what, Pep's grown into. I'm not saying he's going to be good as Pep, but, what Klopp's done. So it's a difficult one, isn't it, VJ? Because he's got no CV. That's the problem. If he had the CV, you're all sitting there a bit chilled going, do you know what? He's won it. It's like Pochettino. When he went PSG, he hadn't won anything. And he still hasn't really won anything because PSG do normally win the cups in France. So it's a shame, isn't it? Because Arteta's shown otherwise. And he's the one outlier that's been able to maintain a title race, having won nothing as a manager. So do Chelsea fans look at Arsenal and say, there's a great model? Or do Chelsea fans go back to your original model, and say, this is all we know that's worked? It's a really difficult one, mate. And I don't think there's a clear answer, is there? It's just
But
week
then,
by week.
playing devil's advocate, right? Let's just say Potter goes at the end of the season. There's only a few more months to go, right? Who do Chelsea get? Who would want to come to Chelsea knowing that they're not probably in control
I
of
think
the
it's a great job.
transfers?
I think it's a great job. You've got a good owner who's backed the team and he's legally, I believe, contracted to spend more. I don't know what the limit is, VJ.
Yep, that's right.
There's a minimum amount he needs to spend. So for a manager like Conte or some of these proven winners, that's just a great place to go because you know you're getting the money. You don't even have to talk about money. You don't even have to negotiate that. You know you're getting 200-300 million that summer. You've already got quality in the squad. Right, I think it's one of the most admiring jobs because if Todd Bowley does stick out with Potter, one thing he's shown to the football world is I didn't throw him under the bus at the first sign of failure. I stuck it out.
Would you go and get someone like Zidane then?
Well, he said he doesn't want to manage, right? Apparently in England.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Pochettino, I don't know about Poch. I think maybe the Spurs boys want him back. You know, when Conte, I don't think Conte's going to last, is he? I think, I think
we'll
he'll be
move on
off
to
soon.
Spurs in a minute. Yeah, Conte might be
Yeah.
available. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Conte wants to go back to. He's eyeing one of the top jobs in Italy, isn't he?
Italy, yeah.
Or he's fallen out with Levy. It's one of the two. We'll find out in the summer.
I think one that you might want to look at in the future is Julian Nagelsmann at Munich. He's been a bit up and down there because Dortmund are doing really well this season, aren't they? So because Munich normally have it wrapped up every single season, but this season they got a bit of competition with Dortmund now at the top of the league. But
Hey, listen,
Nagelsmann is one to probably consider if they did get rid of Potter.
Bring Tuchel back.
No, I was going to say Tuchel is probably one of the best managers out there that's available. So when he takes a job, you normally get a trickle down. So you never know. Do you know what I mean? I think this summer's going to be a dominoes of manager changes. But let's close off with Chelsea. Sage, you got any closing thoughts on where Chelsea at? Do you think there's? Where are you on the Potter one? Are you leaning towards wait till the end of the season? No, I think you're on mute, mate. Are you on mute?
Yeah, I'm on mute. Sorry about
there you
that.
go. Yeah, we can hear you now, man. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm more of on the side of give him a little bit of time because, as everyone said, he is a great coach. I think he's a perfect coach. Look at Brighton. He didn't reach that level with Brighton quickly. That took a while. I think it was like a season or two before they got to that sort of level. So I think he's a very, very good coach, but a manager to manage Chelsea, I don't think he's that guy. So give him to the end of the season, see if he can grind out a few more results. If he doesn't get those results, he's got to go. I think he's got to go, personally. So, yeah.
Fair enough, man. Thank you for that. Lads, thanks a lot for that, for the input on Chelsea. VJ, we'll be seeing you next week, and hopefully you'll get a win in terms of fixtures. I don't think you've got that many difficult ones. Obviously, you've got the Champions League fixture this week on Tuesday. But otherwise, in the Premier League, I was just having a look. They're not big fixtures. Most of those teams are below you. And then you've got a little tricky bit coming up in the towards the end of April. So
I was going to say, there can't be many below us, isn't there?
It's about, I think, how many was it? 3 below you now. Was it 8 below you, whatever it is? So now you've got a few.
Yeah,
go on.
No, I was going to say, no game's easy, man. And we got done to Southampton, so.
Yeah, it's Leicester City away, it's Everton at home, and it's Aston Villa at home. And then you've got Liverpool at home, Wolves away. So, it does get a little bit more trickier there, especially with the Anfield.
At least those first 3 should be winnable, shouldn't they, for Chelsea? And then Liverpool and Wolves are certainly more tougher ones.
Yeah, and you never know. You might have a little Champions League run, mate. If you get the result on Tuesday, then it might be like, forget the Premier League. Let's just try and win the Champions League. What an amazing season that would be if you could do that under Potter.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah.
Will he get sacked after that? Who knows?
Well,
right.
Di Matteo.
I was going to say Di Matteo. Right, lads, let's turn our attention to the last Big Six game of the weekend. It was my beloved Tottenham Hotspur. They let me down again, as they always do every other weekend. It is a roller coaster supporting this club, and these are the weekends where you sit there and go, why do I bother? Why do I do this? How did I end up supporting this team? But it was literally one of those Tottenham performances. But what I will say before I open the mic to you guys is the first half was the best away performance I've seen Tottenham produce in a long time. So watching the game live on TV, I went into half time thinking, wow, Wow. Like we had Sonny hit the bar, we had Kulusevski, a world-class save to tip it around the post. We had Perisic coming with a diving header. We had Porro hit the crossbar. And I was doing the Instagram reel. I was running out of space to even do the second half. That's how many highlights we had in the first half.
It's a great,
And
it's a
then
great free kick that was.
it was a great
Porro.
free kick. And what really annoyed me is the second free kick should have gone to, in the second half, should have gone to Porro, but Kane muscled him off the ball and said, no, I'm having this free kick. And I thought Kane was wrong there. He should have let him have the second free kick because he nearly scored a worldie on the first one. And then the second half, Wolves switched it up. They went to a back three and they matched us man for man. And that was the tactical genius of Lopetegui on the day. He went from a back four to a back three. So he went man for man, had the extra man in midfield, and then they had more control of the game in the second half. They made 5 substitutions. You know, he threw everything on there. That's what you call a manager there taking the initiative, you know, taking the proactive decisions, not sitting on a 0-0 hoping Spurs don't score and we'll take a draw. He took that game to Tottenham, Lopetegui. So big respect to Lopetegui on what he did. And he basically changed the game in Wolves' favour. We couldn't get control of the game again. The whole second half was all Wolves. And it was a matter of time before they were going to score. We had an odd couple of chances. The substitutions from Stellini, don't know what was going on with there, bringing on Lucas Moura, taking off Porro. Porro was our attacking threat on the right. He brought on Lucas Moura, which I didn't understand because Porro was having a really good game. He was causing them some issues. Even if it was just for free kicks, bringing on Porro, it would have been still worthwhile. But he brought on Lucas Moura. And although I understand a little bit of the thinking of bringing on Lucas Moura, the guy's not going to be here in the summer, and he makes these runs, but he hasn't got any end product. Lucas Moura can't cross, Lucas Moura can't score, and Lucas Moura rarely assists. So really, you're just left with this dribbling guy, this dribbling Brazilian that dribbles a bit, and then that's kind of it. He runs out of steam. So Spurs lost, you know, in the dying 5 minutes, whatever it was, 85 minutes. Traore with the goal. Foster was to blame for pushing the ball back out onto the penalty spot. As a goalkeeper, you always try to push wide, never push back in front of you. What did Foster do? I mean, he could have caught it potentially. He could have gone to the right. He could have gone above him, but he pushed it out. And when he pushed it out, it went straight to Traore, and he smashed it into the top corner. And that guy hardly scores, and he scored against us. But yeah, I mean, Spurs losing the game, this would have been a great win because we would have closed in on Man United. We would have put some distance between ourselves and Liverpool. And with Newcastle losing, we would have put them a little bit behind us. But Tottenham didn't win due to lack of tactical nous. The manager, Stellini, who's been stepping in for Conte, who's been out for a month now, and he's got February of the month nomination for manager of the month, and Conte's not even been in the UK pretty much. So how he's got nomination for manager of the month when he's been in Italy? But we have beaten City, we have beaten West Ham, and we beat Chelsea in that as well. So he's got manager of the month nomination. But it was just one of those games where the manager didn't change it. His subs were average. His tactics, I don't think he knew what he was doing. Bit of favoritism with Sonny and obviously Kane as well. And Perisic, a lot of Tottenham fans. I was on We Are Tottenham TV earlier, which is like the biggest YouTube Tottenham channel, and we're talking about Perisic and how he needs to be dropped. He's not producing a wing back's performance, so lots of problems at Tottenham at the moment. And we have a consistency issue at the club. We have our sporting director under investigation. We have our manager in Italy recovering from health reasons, and we have a team which doesn't know what it's doing half the time because all we do is play 45 minutes of football on most weekends. The Chelsea result, Chelsea were poor. The Man City result, we did what we always do with Man City. We always get lucky with Man City for some reason at the lane. So that covered up a few scars. And the West Ham result, West Ham did come on, and Antonio in the beginning, in the first 20 minutes, had a chance. What's his name? Bowen had a chance. So the cracks have been covered for Tottenham. Milan beat us 1-0 away in the Champions League. We got them on Wednesday. Sheffield United threw us out the cup in midweek, and we didn't respect that competition with the lineup. It's been an awful week for Spurs. We went off the high of beating Chelsea for the first time in how many years at Tottenham? And then we had the embarrassment of coming out the Sheffield United loss, coming out the FA Cup. And then we had the embarrassment of, it's not an embarrassment losing away in the Premier League. It never is because it's so tough. But it is a shame that Spurs on the road cannot win, whether it's AC Milan, Sheffield United in the Championship, Wolves away, City away, Leicester away. I've just given you 5 results there where we've gone away in the last month, last 6 weeks, and we've not won. And Spurs on the road right now are just literally a broken team. But let's open it up to you guys. So whoever wants to go first, any views on the games, guys, on the game itself?
I had two questions. Like really bizarre, I think. Giving that game away in the cup, like not playing your strong lineup. What do you think was the decision behind that? Because in my view, like to go for a trophy, like a domestic trophy, getting a winners, getting massive.
Massive.
You guys are not going to win the league. You're not going to come second. I think winning a cup at best would be a great. I would say a good. Finishing fourth and getting a cup would be a great, outstanding. A realistic kind of way of finishing the league. So that was my first point. And then secondly, like you spent 200 million over the last 2 years. Would you say? Because we talk about Chelsea spending lots of money, City, United, but let's not forget, like Spurs have spent a lot of money over the last 2 years. So my second question is, do you think money well spent or not?
Yeah. So on your first question, you're going to Sheffield United away that are basically going to come up to the Premier League. They're smashing it. So we're not going to Sheffield United, who are 14th in the Championship. They're up there at the top end. They put out a B team, and this is serious. Sheffield United beat us with their B team, and we should have won that game had we had played our set 11. Our set 11. Yes, you can take 2 or 3 players out. I've got no problem with taking a couple of players out, 2, 3 players. But he drop Kane, and to drop Kane is dangerous for Spurs because without Kane, Tottenham generally don't score. It's just the way it goes, man. Without his goals this season, Tottenham will be suffering big time. You look at other teams, they spread their goals. Arsenal smashing it with 3, 4 goal scorers. You look at obviously Man United relying on Rashford too much. City obviously don't have a problem relying on one particular player. We have that problem that we rely on Kane. So he should have started Kane and then dropped maybe a couple other players. Kane creates, Kane finishes, and he's just always got that bit of quality that he can turn a game. So for me, Sheffield United, he shouldn't have dropped Kane. It's a big shame, mate, because we don't win big trophies because we don't have the teams for it. We are lucky to get top 4 every season. We find that a good season if Tottenham get top 4. I'm not one of these Tottenham fans that think we should be challenging for the title, man. I'm not in dreamland. Some Tottenham fans still living in the 80s. I'm not, mate. I'm not like that. I see what's going on around the league. Your second question about the money spent. Richarlison was 60 million, and people are now saying, was he worth 60 million? He's come on. He scored 1 goal. No, he hasn't even scored 1 goal in the Premier League. He scored 2 goals in the Champions League in the same game. So Richarlison is struggling at Tottenham. He looks frustrated. He don't look happy, and he's a very angry kind of player. But you need to then focus his energy and his anger into performances. And at the moment, Richarlison's not playing very well. On the left, we've got Perisic, who's 33 years old. Doesn't really work well with Sonny. Doesn't really work well with Ben Davis. The goal against Wolves showed that Perisic was in the wrong position, didn't get the block in. And then you look around the team. Pedro Porro, 40 million, well spent. That result against Wolves, yes, we lost, but Pedro Porro was my man of the match for Tottenham. He was one of our better players with Ollie Skip. He was causing them problems down the right-hand side. And thank God we've got Pedro Porro because we now got some attacking width. And Conte's system is about width, guys. It's all about width because of the wing-backs. So Pedro Porro has been a very good signing. Where else have we wasted money? Yves Bissouma.
Romero, £50 million on Romero.
That's a good signing. That is a good signing, bro. 50 million for Romero was a good signing. What we got here? Dan was Chelsea fan.
I was going to say Dan Juma as well. Why is Dan Juma not being used?
So Emerson's a good signing. Dan Juma's a loan, and we can send him back or buy him. So Dan Juma's just a loan, but Dan Juma could have come on for Lucas Moura. This is what Tottenham fans are saying. Like when we were 0-0, for me, you've got to then introduce and inject that kind of something new, a spark. So he didn't do that. So we should have won that game with the players we had, or got a draw at the worst. And the one silver lining is Lopetegui came out post-match and he goes, I'm going to say it straight. Tottenham deserved more. That's the first thing he said. He said, listen, this is papered over the cracks, this result. we've got a lot of issues. That first half, Tottenham dominated us. They should have got a result. So when the manager says that, you know you've played all right. But we should have won that game. The money spent, I think Yves Bissouma, I think he's a baller, and I think he will do well at Tottenham in the long run. It's just not happened for him because he's maybe it's pressure. Maybe he needs 1 year at the club. Maybe he needs a bit more time. You know, he's one of those ones that will blossom in his second season and won't blossom in his first season. Heung-min Son blossomed in his second season. Some players blossom in their second season. A lot of players blossom in their second season. Jack Grealish is blossoming in his second season. So you can go and spend 60 million on Richarlison and you don't see the real Richarlison until the following season. So I always look at players after a season. You know, I've learned from Sonny, I've learned from Bell, I've learned from world-class players not to judge them in their first season. And I think Chelsea fans will be thinking the same, is don't judge these players right now, judge them in the next window, in the next season. So all in all, a really difficult day away to Wolves in the second half. Didn't tactically change it. And really annoyed that we dropped points because we've been playing well. We've beaten our London rivals, both of them, you know.
It's just
West Ham, Chelsea.
you've spent the money. You've got a world class manager, and if that's not enough, like can you get better than this in terms of a better manager and get more investment from?
I
Like,
think
where
I
does it
think
go from here, basically?
so. Conte is in two minds whether he's going to sign this extension or not, and whether he wants to commit to the club. We need a manager that's going to commit to the club because we need to now build a plan like Arteta has done at Arsenal. We haven't got the big bucks, but we need to put the money correctly behind the right manager with the right sporting director. We've got Paratici, who for me has done a very good job. I'll give him 7, 8 out of 10. What he's done off the pitch or, you know, behind the scenes, I don't know, this Juventus nonsense. If he's guilty, he's guilty. You get rid of him. And it puts us back 2, 3 years because now we're finding another sporting director. And Conte, if he doesn't sign, we're finding another manager. So it's annoying because 12 months ago, Spurs fans would have told you we had one of the best transfer windows in the summer. We've got the best manager in town. You've got a great sporting director, someone we've been after for years. And we're spending money, like you've just correctly said. So everything looked gravy. You know, everything looked gravy about 9 months ago. We'd finished top 4. This was the launch pad to take on potentially even a title. There was people like Graham Souness and Roy Keane saying, I put Tottenham in that conversation in all these debates before the season started. And I'm thinking there, nah, we ain't going to challenge for no title. But then I'm looking at going, look at all these signings, Conte's X factor's gone somewhere. Now, whether it's because he doesn't want to be here, because he's mentioned in riddles, he talks in riddles, Conte, and he's mentioned a couple of times, I'll see it at the end of the season. I'll see it at the end of the season. What's that doing to the players? The players, are they playing for Conte today and he's gone tomorrow? Are the young players looking at Conte going, how are you going to develop me? You know, there's a lot of uncertainty around Tottenham Hotspur at the moment with Conte, with the sporting director, with Harry Kane. But those are all excuses, Bricks. Those are all excuses. At the end of the day, you still have a football match to go to and you still have 3 points to play for. So all this stuff, you know, I know players are softer today than before. You don't have the Graham Souness's, Roy Keanes and Patrick Vieira's anymore that can hold the team up. And the manager might be crap, but they'll get a result. There might be uncertainty in a player's life or in the squad, whatever, and those players kick them to the side. We don't have those leaders anymore that can dictate the dressing room. These softies need management and leadership. And Conte came in raring. I think VJ said this a couple of episodes ago. You don't see him raring anymore. You don't see him jumping up and down on the sidelines, ripping his fake hair out. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't do it anymore. So for me, Conte's lost his X factor. I don't know the reasons why, personal or professional, as he's fallen out with Levy. The team's gone flat. We've been playing awful football all season. We keep winning second halves. Earlier in the season, we kept coming back 2-0 away to Bournemouth, for example, 3-2. And that was papering over the cracks. January window, we went and got a nice quality signing in Pedro Porro. But it's still not clicked. And Tottenham are one of those teams where they will either... So we will win 2 or 3 and then we'll go. We just do mini runs. We do mini runs. This time last season we went on our best run. We won. I can't remember what it was, but if you guys remember Tottenham from February last season, they just smashed it. Kulusevski smashing it, Bentancur smashing it, and that's what we need because you need 70 points to make top 4. You need 68 traditionally, historically. Now this season, Chelsea and Liverpool losing more games than they would have lost by this stage of the season. Top 4 might only be 65 points or 63, 62 points, because those other guys have lost points to lesser teams. Liverpool and Chelsea have dropped points. Brentford, Fulham, and Brighton have taken more points off those teams. So I think top 4 will be 62, 64, 65 points. And if you do the mathematics, we've got to win 2/3 of our games to make it.
Yeah.
So I think top 4 is
And
massively in the balance, man.
See, if I was Harry Kane sat at home right now, like I'm, lifelong Spurs fan. We've got one of the best managers managing us. Got a lot of money that's been spent, but we still can't seem to win anything for now. And it doesn't look like you're going to win anything now till the end of the season. And other teams around me is spending money. What what do I do? Do I stay for another season? I'm 29. I'm going to be 30 soon, or do I leave? Like my view is he's going to leave, like Spurs.
There's two schools of thoughts on this. There's two schools of thought. If I'm Harry Kane now and I want to get Alan Shearer's record, I'm better off staying at Tottenham because I will get goals at Tottenham. I might not get trophies, but I'll get goals. I'll get my 20 goals a season for two reasons. One is because they'll play me all the time, right? Because I'm Harry Kane, the living legend, right? The best goal scorer in Tottenham history now. He's just beat Jimmy Greaves to it last week. And number two is they will help me score. So I can go in there into the manager, whether it's Jose, Conte, or Pochettino, and say, give me the ball. Put the players around me to give me the ball. So Harry Kane has red carpet treatment at the moment at Tottenham Hotspur. So if he wants Alan Shearer's record and he stays at Tottenham, he'll probably get it because he'll get the game time. But if Harry Kane goes to Man United or he goes to Chelsea or he goes to whoever he goes to, is he going to get the game time? If he's going to get the game time, I would leave tomorrow. I would leave tomorrow because then he will get the goals. So he'll get the personal record of being the best ever Premier League scorer all time. That's a huge record to have. And he'll probably win a trophy.
But he did want to leave though, didn't he? When Man City came in with a bid for 100 million a season ago. So his intent is there, but obviously Daniel Levy is a tough negotiator, right?
You know what? If he had gone City, he would have probably scored 35 goals last season. And he probably would have scored 35 goals this season.
And so I think he brings more to the table than Haaland does because he plays in between the lines. He plays as number 10 as well. All those through, as you know, all those through ball. Just on the sporting director, is that related to the situation with Juventus?
Yeah, that's right. So they inflated their revenue. They decreased their costs, and
I read also one of your scouts in Colombia did an interview, or one of the South American countries, and he mentioned that you were after a goalkeeper, and now he's been suspended as well. Don't know if you heard about that.
I ain't heard about that Colombian stuff, mate. It sounds a bit dodgy, but I'll have to catch up on it. There's a lot of problems at Tottenham now, and you know what really hurts? And Sage, you will love this. Obviously, 12 months ago, we finished above Arsenal when we did the whole kind of last minute, top 4 finish. Watching Arsenal at the moment doing what they're doing is like twisting the knife because we're already watching crap. 90 minutes we let in that goal, and I was watching it on a live watch along, and Arsenal scored 5 minutes later or 7 minutes later, whatever. We let in the goal in 88 minute, and the whole thing was like, do you know what I mean? It's like they're going to win the Premier League. The Bants is going to come in hard. They've stocked up on the Bants from last year because we were giving it hard. St. Tottering Day is coming in the next 4 weeks. That's when Arsenal finish above Tottenham. It's an actual day they celebrate. That hasn't been there for 6 years. So we've just got to be men and take it. We've just got to be men and take it. But it kills. It kills when the rival is doing what they're doing. Watching Arsenal is like watching the Invincibles. Watching them is what it's entertaining. It's entertaining. If you want to watch good football, watch Arsenal right now. If you want to watch shit, watch Tottenham. So yeah, it doesn't help. If Arsenal was 6th and we're sitting there in 4th, it makes it that little bit easier to sleep. It makes it that little bit easier to kind of be all right with it. But the fact they're doing what they're doing, Tottenham fans can't handle it right now. They're cracking, man. They're cracking. I go on the channels, man. They're cracking.
But
feeling
Josh,
it too, but it is what it is.
But Josh, your question, right? So I mean, come on, this as well. There's no sort of hiding it. There's a saying around Tottenham, right? As soon as Tottenham get there, they go a bit Spursy. What is that? How are you going to break that hoodoo, right? Because it seems like every season there's something, right? Sheffield United, the week just gone, you lose to Wolves, which, by the way, Wolves are a good side, right? So losing to Wolves is not such a bad thing. But Sheffield United, where that was a chance for you to win a bit of silverware, that was probably more hurtful than the win, than the loss. Sorry, yesterday.
So resting players to Sheffield United was on the back of, all right, then we see what you're doing here. You're trying to win the game on the weekend. You're trying to give Harry Kane a few, a week off. So then go and lose against Wolves is like, what was the point? Because that second half, Stellini said we lost energy. But you're saying, Stellini, hold up, you picked a weaker team against Sheffield United, so they have the energy. So who's blaming who here? Who's really to blame? Is it you for picking the weak team on Wednesday? Because if you picked the full first 11 on Wednesday, you can say energy, and most would say, all right, cool, 3 days. We played on the 3 days before too, so that's 3 games in 6 days or 7 days. But Stellini didn't. He picked a weaker team, so we thought, all right, cool, it is what it is. But it hurt to be out the FA Cup, and the reason why we fell, listen, that is the big question for Tottenham, and I think what Spurs need to do is win any cup, like not the Audi Cup, not the pre-season cups, like the League Cup, right? Where teams don't give it much priority until the semis. We should be going for that with the first 11. I know that sounds embarrassing, but we should be going for the League Cup with the first 11. The FA Cup, where most teams, the big teams look at it and go, whatever, and then the other teams really go for it. We should be going at that with the first 11. And one of the big debates at Tottenham is management more interested in top 4 over trophies? And are the coaches told to prioritize the Premier League over trophies? Because we'll earn 10 million on Wednesday. To win the FA Cup, I think you win, I don't even know what it is, mate. It's like 250 grand for the game. So whatever that is in the final, So Tottenham have played 50 something Champions League games in the last 12 years, 13 years, 12, 13 years. When you add up the millions and millions and millions, and how we can then spend on wages and keep players and sign players, it makes business sense. But we've won just one trophy in that whole period. So there are fans that think top 4 is a trophy now. And Arsene Wenger said it, top 4 is a trophy. But it's not. It's not a trophy, is it? It's a commercial income.
That's a great question you pose, because you can say Liverpool, for example, FSG it's all about the Champions League and getting that money, and winning a trophy or winning the league or Champions League is a bonus, because for them it is a business, right? To run a club is really, really expensive. 75% of the revenue in Liverpool goes towards costs, right? So I think a majority of owners nowadays, they look at, right, they need to get into the Champions League because that's where the money is. And if you're not in it, that impacts on transfers and the running of the club. So you could say, yeah, for Spurs, Liverpool, Man City less so, because they're doing what they have to do, right, to make the money, literally.
Yeah, it's top 4 is a trophy in the sense that it gives you the income to buy the better players, that gives you more better chance of winning a trophy. Because the likelihood is that if you've got a better squad, the likelihood that you will end up winning the FA Cup or the League Cup. That's why top 4 is so important, because it gives you the money to get the better players. But then if you don't respect the competition, what's the point in being in it? And I also understand the argument that if we've got AC Milan in 7 days and we've got Sheffield United and Wolves before, do we look at AC Milan as the big fixture of the week, or do we look at the FA Cup as the big fixture of the week? AC Milan gives you 10 million. Sheffield United doesn't give you much money, 250 grand. However, obviously, if we beat Sheffield United, we would have played Blackburn Rovers. We're 1 game away from a semi-final and another round away from the final. So the club needs to set the agenda and tell the management staff, you can't do all of it because you ain't got the squad. But we're going to tell you that we want a trophy this season, and you better respect that. It's like the managing director telling his marketing manager, listen, I want this many sales, and that's what I want. So the guy says, right, I'll sacrifice this. I'll get an extra salesman in, but I'll get that target. What is the direction from Daniel Levy and the board to the management team? Have they told them, you better take this conversation seriously about FA Cup? Or have they not?
But I think because you've got a foreign manager in charge in Conte, right? He wants the biggest trophies, whether it's the Premier League or the Champions League. And he's obviously clearly prioritized the Champions League over the FA Cup. Yeah, the FA Cup in a traditional sense, it's a trophy, right? But if you win the FA Cup, you get a spot in the Europa League, don't you?
Has that changed? I don't know if that's changed.
I think that's still the case. Right? I don't think you get a
It's still the
Champions League
case.
place. You get a spot in the Europa League. Yeah.
Or
So
is it Europa Conference? That's what I was going to say.
yeah, one of them. Right. It's not the Champions League, but in a couple of weeks time when you play AC Milan, right, you're still in that tie. That's the big game, because in a cup competition, in knockout, you can still go on and win it. So you can. So Chelsea, we talked about Chelsea and Dortmund, right? They battered Dortmund in Germany. They lost 1-0. They should have probably won 2 or 3. But in the return leg, if they beat them and Potter goes on to win, is more likely to stay, right? And it's possible, So you can say never So
I
I
think
can
if
see.
I'm Daniel Levy, I'm looking at this club going, listen, I've had one trophy in my whole ownership. I know what the fans want, and I know what I need to do to give myself more time as well, to give the fans a day out, something that they've won, which then makes me a better chairman. Is top 4 more important than a trophy? And that's a big question for Tottenham. Is the FA Cup more important than Champions League? Because if you look at the FA Cup and you look at the Champions League, they're worlds apart. One's a multi-million pound business and the other one's a domestic trophy. So if I'm Daniel Levy, I have to say to my management team, I don't mind if you don't get top 4. Not I don't mind, because you wouldn't say that, but you're saying win a trophy for these fans, win a trophy for the club. We need to have something on that big poster where they have all your trophies and that. We don't have anything on that since 2008. So it all trickles back up to the ownership putting the pressure on the management team, on the coaches to say, you see, come on, they must speak, man. They must say, see, we got, can you imagine Daniel Levy? He's always in the canteen, right? As per the Amazon documentary. In the Amazon documentary, every morning he's going having his cup of tea, having a chit chat with Paratici, whatever, or Jose Mourinho, sorry, at the time. So surely at some point in that conversation, Daniel Levy can go, we got Sheffield United on Wednesday. He's the boss of the club. Yeah, he's a 30% owner of this business. He's the most liable person at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Surely Daniel Levy has to say, yo, don't flop that. Start the first 11. And it's not a big ask for him to say to the management team, start the first 11. And then if the first 11 turns around, if the manager turns around and said, I don't want to start the first 11 because I want to save it for Wolves or the Champions League game, AC Milan, and Daniel Levy goes, cool, then yeah, then it's on Daniel Levy. But if Daniel Levy's not having that direct pressure on the management team, like a managing director of a business would, and say, this is what I want a trophy. He says it in his notes. He said it in his January statement. He goes, we've had too many near misses with trophies. We've had 5 or 6 finals and we've only won one, which was 2008 Chelsea at Wembley League Cup. We've had too many near misses. Our ambition is to win silverware. So what the hell was that team selection on Wednesday against Sheffield United?
But
Do you know
then,
what I mean?
but then, a couple of seasons ago, wasn't it a bit self-defeating, firing Jose a few
For the
days
final.
for
Before the
the
final.
final? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, and the other thing about management putting pressure on managers to say you got to play these players, I think you're going down a dangerous road here, because if John Henry goes to Klopp, you got to play him. Right, I don't think he's going to take it, because
But you see, Klopp's won everything. We're a desperate club for trophies. The
But then you
banter's
got,
real.
but
The
Conte, right, is a world class operator in his own right, and he's won the biggest trophies wherever he's been. Now, I think the passionate guy he is, right, if he's told by Levy, you got to do this, you got to do that, I don't think he'll do it. He'll
Listen,
probably walk.
if he said to Conte, get top 4, you're done, then Conte has to sacrifice the FA Cup because that's
Yeah,
his remit. That's his remit, right? It's his job's on the line. If he said to Conte, get top 6 but win me a trophy, then Conte's got the freedom to play his first 11. But
yeah.
whatever that direction is from the top must be followed through. And I don't know if there is direction. It looks like they're more interested in top 4 because they started a weaker team. But
Well,
I will say one more thing: that
yeah,
team was good enough to beat Sheffield United's B team. So whilst I can
yeah,
blame
exactly.
the coaches and the management, them 11 players were good enough to beat Sheffield United's
It's
B team.
it's unfortunate that he had to have his gallbladder. I've had that same surgery, right, and it's not nice. And trust me, it's not nice, especially the first 6 months, right?
Were you
You're
at home
running.
for a month or something? Yeah. Were you?
No, at least 4 weeks. Like good recovery, man. You
Yeah,
got
yeah.
run to the you got to run to the loo. Where you got to go, right? Because you're taking out an organ, yeah. So he had the operation. He came back after 2 weeks, and I was thinking to myself, man, that is too early because I've been through that experience and it's not nice. And it takes you minimum 6 months, maybe a couple of years to get
That's his
used to it.
commitment. That's Conte's commitment to getting
Yeah,
back on the
yeah. But
touchline.
you got to look after your health. But having said
Yeah.
that, if your manager, if your leader is missing for
Mm.
a certain period, if Klopp disappeared for like 2 months, right, that would impact things, right? Because
100%.
he's the
100%.
voice, isn't
We've
he?
actually won more. We've had our best form with him away. We won those 3 games. Man City. When
So
he
he's got
came
an
back,
able,
when he
he's got
came
an
back,
able deputy.
when he
Right?
came back for Leicester, we lost 4.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
lost
yeah.
away to Leicester 4-1. When he came back, so we went straight back to Italy and we won again. We beat Chelsea.
But
We
I
beat
think
West Ham.
looking out from the outside and reading the situation, a few 2 or 3 months away until the end of the season, give or take, right? He hasn't signed the extension. That in itself kind of indicates to me, anyway, I don't think he'll stay. Maybe he thinks that because when he first came. And during the season, he started to make up excuses. He said, "We've got to spend more. We've got to spend more. We've got to spend more." And Tottenham have spent decent amount of money. And you bought a £40 million player, right? And the kid seems quite decent. Maybe had a bit of a
Porro.
dodgy debut, but
No, he looks good, man. He looks good.
yeah. So you spent 40 million on a right back, which is decent money, right? So, but whether he's going to stay or not, if he doesn't, I personally think. I know he hasn't won a trophy for you, but he's Tottenham through and through. Is bring Pochettino back because I think he's still available, right? He hasn't got a
Poch is
job,
available,
so
man.
yeah, I would get him back because with him, Spurs, right, is about attractive football first and foremost, right? With Conte 3-5-2, it's a bit sore on the eyes. I mean, you can tell us
Yeah,
more.
VJ
Right?
will tell you as a Chelsea fan. I had Dams, the Chelsea fan, coming on Thursday, and
Yeah,
he was like, "Conte ball is that. Conte ball is a bit boring, but it's results driven." And this is the
but
thing, right? Do fans want to be entertained and
both.
finish a couple of places below, but be happy having been entertained, or do fans want to be at the screw the entertainment, boring football, but get results? Because there comes a point at which football stops becoming just results and it becomes an entertainment, a place of
Well,
entertainment.
it's a bit of both, right? You can't play every single match like your Barcelona
Of
in their
course, of course, there's a
heyday,
balance.
right? So
Yeah,
there's a balance, right? So I mean, so the way Pep plays is slightly different to how Klopp plays, right? But it's exciting football, and you're not
both
always going to
both
play
good
like that.
brands, both good
Yeah,
brands
yeah,
of
yeah.
football.
So
Yeah,
playing good, attractive football,
but
taking the
Conte and
initiative.
Jose don't play that. The Jose of
They're a bit
recent
more old
years,
school. Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
old school. So those managers, I feel, are losing their um respect in the game because people are saying,
We need to
I
see
want to
more.
I need to see both. I need to
Yeah.
see Klopp. I need to see Pep. I need to see Arteta.
And Arteta is another one that he's learned a little bit from Pep, and it looks good,
Listen, they
right? You
have
can see his ideas coming through.
and Sage, your views on Spurs and that as well. But just before I hand over to Sage, you have a choice. Like you have a choice in the way you dress, and you have a choice in the way you speak and who you hang with. You have a choice in the way of football and brand of football you play as a manager. You're not forced to play anything. You have a choice. Conte chooses to play this football. He will say, "I'd rather have a clean sheet and win 1-0 than win 3-2 and entertain the fans." And they will go, "I'm going, no, that was an amazing game. We scored in the 90th minute." He gets turned on by 1-0. But the problem is that fans, when they're not getting these results, are going to do the first thing straight away. They're going to jump on the football and the style of football. They're not going to look at his CV. They're not going to look at anything else. They're going to say, but the football's shit. So if you're going to play shit football and you don't get the results, expect the massive rebound from the fan base, which is going to go, yeah, but the football's crap. And that's what's happening at Tottenham now. If we were playing good football, the fans will go, I'll tell you what, against Wolves, all the Tottenham fans are saying first half smashed it. Best first half I've seen Tottenham on the road in a long time. Because the football was good, but we still went in 0-0. We had something to go off. The second half, we had nothing to go off. So, Sage, coming over to you, mate. You've seen Arteta play. You've seen the 8 losses in a row, or whatever it was. When Arteta was going through his down period. But did you see signs of what you see today during those down periods for Arteta? Was there some shoots of this football that you're seeing now when he was going through that tough period?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's why I mentioned earlier when I was giving my analysis on the Arsenal game, when we played City last year, I saw in that game alone what Arteta was trying to do. And before that, he was trying to produce a dominating style. So the tough times, you just got to ride it sometimes and see how it goes. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was very Arteta out at the beginning because I thought he just didn't have the experience to be a manager, etc. So in that regard, it's a difficult one with Conte because he's a proven manager. So it's hard to compare like Arteta's start to Conte's situation right now. It's not the same, so I can't really compare it. Like, it's hard for me to elaborate on that. Do you know what I mean?
What do you make of Spurs? Do you think they're going to get top 4, man?
I'm going to be brutally honest. The way you guys have been playing lately, this on and off, having a run of games and then losing a couple games and then winning a couple games, and you see Liverpool's like record in the last 5 games right now, it's not looking good for Tottenham. And I mentioned before as well, like on the show a couple weeks ago, that if Brighton win their 2 games or 3 games in hand, they could like possibly be in the race as well. So I don't think Tottenham are going to get top 4. They might just miss out. And for your sake, you obviously want top 4, but I think Tottenham are just going to miss out.
See, a little trip in the Europa League in which Arsenal have done it last season and this season, isn't necessarily the worst thing because you can go back to rebuilding some youth, go back to some experimentation, go back to some relaxed midweek fixtures and not playing in the Champions League like we're playing Sporting Lisbon and Marseille. Instead, we'll be playing flipping Toothpick FC or whatever it is in the middle of nowhere. So having those dodgy Thursday night, not dodgy, but those long trips away on a Thursday night to Tin Pot FC, that's not the worst thing. It might sound bad, oh no, we got to play these crappy teams, but you can blood some youth in that. You can experiment your tactics, and I believe Chelsea, if they had a Thursday night now, Potter would be loving it because you could have used those extra 90 minutes every week just to try a few different techniques and methods out with different players. So sometimes when you're in the top 4, you're punching. And although you think, yeah, I'm in the Champions League, I got what happens is you're not ready for it. Your squad's not ready for it. You're not playing the football consistently enough to maintain a Champions League run. So then you get stuck in 2 minds and you end up nowhere because you're still trying to play this. You save the legs for the Wednesday, which is why, we lost to Wolves. If we didn't have a Wednesday game, who knows in the second half if we would have had more energy. Stellini said we didn't have energy in the second half. We might have had more energy. But what are the players thinking? Oh, AC Milan, AC Milan. Players want to play at the Bernabeu. Players want to go and play at the biggest clubs in the world. It's like me saying to you, I want to go to the best club or the best holiday. They want to go play these games, they're memories for these players. It's not always just picking up the trophy. It's the journey as well. So when these players like Skip, who's not played much in the Champions League, these players like, Perisic, or in their last couple of years of their career, mate, they're going away to Wolves. They're probably thinking, I don't want to get injured. Perisic knows he's starting on Wednesday because we're weak on that left-hand side. Sonny knows he's starting. So I wonder if some of these players are selfish and they go, you know what, happy to not put in 100% and save my legs. Because I guarantee you on Wednesday, they'll be running around. The home fans will be behind them and they'll be running around. And if we win the Wednesday game, then we've got another 2 legs to look forward to. But those 2 legs could be sweet poison by affecting our Premier League form because we ain't got the Man City squad. So I say to fans, like, being in the Champions League is great, but your bread and butter is the Premier League. Your bread and butter is the Premier League. Don't go off on a Champions League ride if you're only going to be in it for 1 season. You got to be in it every season and build slowly. But what I was going to say is, money wise, it's the problem is the money in it. It's money now in it. It's not even fair anymore. Like the Champions League money is just ridiculous. There's no other money relative to Champions League money. So football being a business, the Arabs, the Americans, the Russians that are no longer here, they've ruined the game, man, and they've made us needy. It's like it's cocaine or crack or something. We need this Champions League. We need it every year to survive. It's like we're drugged on this Champions League. When really, it never used to be like that. Really, your Premier League was your drug, and the rest of it was a bonus. Now it's switched. Now it's like Champions League money, and I just think that's where the European Super League's going to come in now, because European football's taken over domestic football. But we'll see what happens with that, lads. We've lost our City fan, we've lost our VJ Chelsea fan, and also G went as well. It's quite late as well, lads. If you guys need to drop, go for it. If you've got another 5 minutes, I can quickly run through the quiz or the team of the week, man. Up to you guys, whichever one you want to do, man. The quiz is 4 questions. The team of the week, we just pick 11 players from this weekend's results. Obviously, you can only pick so many Liverpool players. We don't want to just put the Liverpool team out there, Sully. You're like, bruv, you don't even need to ask, mate. Just put the Liverpool team out there. So which one do you want to go for, the quiz or the lineup, lads? You guys decide, man.
Let's go for the quiz.
Should we do the quiz? All right, let's do the quiz,
quickly,
man. Let's do the quiz. Let's do the quiz quickly. All right, here we go. Right, okay. So there's 4 questions here, guys. Just shout out the answer that you think is correct. So let's start from the top of the quiz. The tallest team in the Premier League, is it Spurs? Is it Crystal Palace? Or is it Everton? Just go with your answers, man.
I'm going to say Everton.
I'm going to go with Everton as well, because they've got some tall players, haven't they, at the back?
You guys are on it, man. You guys are on it at 11:30 at night, man. It is Everton, man. Well done. Everton are the tallest team in the Premier League, man. They definitely should be getting more set piece goals with that height. Second question, lads. This is quite, well, we'll see what you guys answer on this. Which was the first team to win the Premier League?
2. I think.
that?
Blackburn.
Blackburn. It certainly wasn't
Blackburn.
Liverpool.
Lads, the first team to win the Premier League
Was it United?
It was United.
was Manchester United.
Oh, was it? Okay. 92.
Yeah.
Is that the season where they said where Alan Hansen can't win anything with kids? Can't remember, maybe.
I can't remember, but it was the 92-93 season. You're right, and it was Manchester United, and then I believe it was Liverpool and then Blackburn. I think that was the order, or Blackburn, Liverpool, whichever way it was. But Manchester United were the first Premier League team to win the Premier League. Right. Third question, lads. The highest paid goalkeeper in the Premier League right now is Edison, De Gea, or Alisson?
Number 2, De Gea.
Number 2, De Gea.
Number 2, De Gea is, man. He earns more than Edison, and I believe he's on like 350 a week. Big money, big money, man. After tonight's performance, they need to sack him, mate. You know what I mean? Get that money back. But no, it wasn't entirely his fault, man. The defense, the whole team was poor. Let's move now down to the defense, and we've got here the highest paid defender in the Premier League. Is it Diaz of Man City? Is it Varane of Manchester United? Or is it Thiago Silva of Chelsea?
I'm going to take a stab at this. I don't think it's number 1. It's even number 2. I think it's number 2, Varane. Rafael Varane.
Do you think it's number 2, Varane?
Yeah.
And Sage?
Oh, you know what? I'm really not too sure. Like, I have a sneaky feeling it's Varane as well, but
yeah,
I'm gonna go for Varane as well, because I was thinking about Diaz, but it's Varane. It's Varane. Pretty sure.
You know what? I'm gonna give it to you guys, man.
Is it right?
It is Varane. Varane is the highest paid defender in the Premier League.
How much is he on? It's about 350.
I can't remember, but it's big money, man. It's 300 grand or something like that. It's what I'm shocked at is Edison and Diaz ain't on more money, but that just goes to show Man City are have this tag that they just destroy Premier League wages. Well, Man United are up there. They're smashing it with the big wages.
What Liverpool do, like they don't have the highest base salary pay, but when it comes to bonuses, they use the American model. They absolutely ramp it up.
And that's how it should be, right? If you're a salesperson or you work on bonuses, you work harder, don't you? You achieve your targets. So it should be based on bonuses. And I hope football would go that way, Sully. I hope they would cap the spend and make players earn more by performing. But the problem is it won't go that way because how do they even manage it? Do you know what I mean? They'd have to literally just have they'd have to just make it so that what do you do? Do you give strikers more money as a basic? Do you defenders more? Do you just have one flat salary? I don't see it manageable, you know. But lads, unless you got any final comments on this week's Premier League results, Sully, congratulations on your 7-0 thrashing of Manchester United. Enjoy your night. I'm sure you won't sleep. You'll be up watching every goal on repeat, and I'm sure tomorrow you'll be sharing them WhatsApp messages everywhere, mate. They're all going to be rolling through the WhatsApp groups, all the memes and all them good things. I've seen loads. I just saw a stat now. Mo Salah's taken his shirt off more times at Liverpool than Man United have scored goals.
I
So
just seen one where Man United, their Twitter posted that Rafael Varane, the Rolls Royce turns up at Anfield, and then Grizz Khan, a not well-known podcast, goes,
yeah.
went left like a battered old Datsun.
Yeah, mate. I said Man United got it this weekend, man. Man United got it big time, mate. You know what? Man United fans watching this, let us know in the comments if that was a freak result or if this was coming. One thing I will say about United, De Gea has been saving them, guys. I'm telling you, man. He's been pulling out.
He's a good goalkeeper. I mean, like, look, with all the top keepers, they do have a ricket in them. I know Alisson. He nearly had one today, right? I don't know if you guys saw it. So the goalkeepers make mistakes. I mean,
but United, I remember the Leicester game. I'm looking at it going, how are Leicester doing this? And then De Gea is pulling out worldies. And there's always a sign in how dirty the goalkeeper's gloves are. There's always there's a telling story in how dirty a defender's shirt is, you know, or how clean it is. And De Gea's been walking in at half time, like, you know, with a world class save or one or two decent saves behind him.
But
I'm not saying that he shouldn't be making. I'm not saying that, you know, every goalkeeper makes saves, but United, I think, they've been playing well, but it has gone their way as well.
You got to take your hat off to him because he's been at United for I think 10 seasons nearabouts. I mean, Alex Ferguson bought him, right, and this is going back to 2012, 2013. So yeah, I think he's on big money, right? But yeah, he's been a great goalkeeper for them. Whether they continue with him, because I think his contract's coming to an end or something in the summer, or they might have an option to extend
I'll keep him, man. I'll keep De Gea, man. I'll keep De Gea, mate. I think
they're trying to. I think United trying to implement this policy.
Wage.
200 grand. I don't know how they're even going to do that because Casemiro's on 350. Rafael Varane, as you just mentioned, is on that much or maybe more. So how do you even police that?
Mate, that whole spine from Casemiro to even Bruno's on big money, but Casemiro, Varane, and De Gea are earning like £1 million a week between them. I think that's what they're earning between them, which don't seem that big when I say it like that, because you know what's £1 million a week these days in football? You know, it's not big money anymore.
That's what Ronaldo earns in a week,
but,
right?
But what I was going to say is they're probably earning more than 3 players than say a Norwich City is spending on their first 11, or a Stoke City, or even one of these, you know, like for example, I don't know what Nottingham Forest wage bill is, or you know Leeds or these teams, but it might be the 3 players could be 8 players in another team. So the levels in the game are just crazy, man. The crazy levels in the game. But listen, big up, guys. Sage, big up for coming on. Well done to your team again for answering all the critics. Everyone's been getting their knives, sharpening their knives every week. Right, this is it. We're going to get them, man. And at 2-2, I had messages saying, hey, you watching this game? And I thought, I ain't going to say shit. I ain't going to say shit until it's done. Because I saw the Villa game and I was in a pub with Arsenal fans and I went with my cousin and he goes, come. And I went, oh, yeah, I'll come, no worries. And I remember when it went 2-2 and I just sat there and said, I ain't going to say shit. And luckily I didn't say shit because Arsenal went on to win it. And it's the same thing when I started getting these messages. I go, listen, it ain't done until it's done. And Arsenal did what you could call it luck. You could call it extra time.
The stars aligned. I was messaging Ricky when it was at 2-0. I was saying, like, you know what? I think
It's
Man
done.
City is done. And at 3-2, I think was it Reece Nelson, right?
Yeah, Reece Nelson.
With a belter, right? I think Ricky was on the floor by then because.
Killer.
But like I said, you know, I want Arsenal to go on to win it because I think, you know, you played the best football this season. You
I
deserve
think
it.
if Arsenal win it, it's good for the game because
100%.
it's showing what you can do with limited budget like not the big budgets of, you know,
But
the
they,
big
they've
budgets.
back. But you know, Cronk. So you know, obviously going back a bit, you know, fans were saying Cronky out or and whatnot. But actually, when you look at it, they
400.
bought the team in Edu,
Mm.
Arteta, you know, your MD guy, right? And they've actually backed. You know, they put their money where their mouth is to a certain extent. They've backed it, right? And you can see the fruits of their labor. And you know, the conversation where the discussion we were having earlier about Potter and whatnot. Sometimes you got to give people time and see
Yeah.
where it goes, right? Because I don't know, sometimes people make like decisions and like, oh, he's got to go. And football's like that; it's a cutthroat business, right? But when Klopp came to Liverpool, he finished the first season. He finished 8th, and we had a shit team, right? And it took him time. He had to go and buy. He didn't buy world class
Took him
players.
2 seasons, isn't it?
He bought Sadio Mane
Mm.
from Southampton for 35 million. Salah picked up from Roma.
Can you imagine, yeah, if every
Mm.
manager was given 2 seasons as a mandatory, how different certain managers would have like performed? So how many managers have been sacked too early because
Yeah.
of fan pressure and rival pressure and all that stuff, you know?
Mm.
There's a lot
But
of managers, I reckon.
but football, you know, as I say, it's a bit of a humbler, right? Because last season Liverpool going on 4 trophies. This season's been a total disaster, and now it looks like we might be doing something to finish strong. So the situation can change. I mean, say like last season, did you think Arsenal will be challenging? Not only challenging,
Nah, not
but probably
title.
winning the title, right? Would you have seen that last season?
Nah, definitely not.
Maybe not, right? Next
Yeah.
season, I'm just saying, right? Tottenham
Now you
get
expect it.
if Conte stays or we get Poch back, right?
You
You
don't
might be
know.
challenging
Yeah.
you don't know,
Mate, in any form of
Mm.
life, right? Bar Chelsea, and I don't know how they've revolved that door so many times and won so many trophies, but that is a flipping enigma. How Chelsea have
similar,
sacked and hired and won. Tell me
similar
another
to
club that's sacked and hired and
similar
won
to
as much.
a
Tell
little
me,
bit
there isn't.
similar to a little bit similar
Who?
to not maybe recently they've been a bit more stable, but Real Madrid higher and fire, higher and
Well, I was
fire.
thinking Premier League, but yeah, yeah, the
In
Liga.
comparison,
What I
yeah,
mean is the Liga's, you know, it's kind of like the Real Madrid league in it and
yeah.
Barcelona league. But what I mean in the Premier League is how Chelsea have rotated the numbers of players, the numbers of managers, and still won all this. That's not for me a proven model, but they've proven it. But I
But
don't
it
think that's
works for them. It
it's
works for
worked for
them.
them, but it's the outlier. It's the outlier
Yeah.
that that sends people crazy because they go sack him, get rid of him, get another world class. Oh, hold up. Klopp shit 2 seasons. Alex Ferguson shit 2 seasons. Arteta shit 2 seasons.
Mm.
Well,
Who else we?
Ferguson needed 7 seasons just to, he was on the
Hundred
verge of being
percent, bro.
sacked
Hundred
until
percent.
Mark Robin scored in that FA Cup game. I think semi-final, whatever it was.
Yeah.
His job was on the line, so he took 7 seasons to
You,
do
you,
anything.
you know the problem is, right, when you bring in a manager and if you give him the keys and the phone and say, right, you deal with it, I'm just gonna sit back here. As long as you work within this square of this money, that's all. I'm a financial man, the owner. You're the football man. I'm not a football man. You've done the badges. You've been a player. I ain't done that. I'm just a manager. I'm just the owner. Sorry. When you give someone full ownership, which I believe they did with Pep, which I believe they did with Arteta now, and Klopp to a certain degree, and it fell apart a bit recently for Liverpool and the money, whatever. But once you do that, you can only judge a manager if he's been given full control. Would you be able to be judged in your job if you ain't got the freedom to do it the way you see fit or best? So when we talk about managers and we say, oh yeah, shit, hold up, how much control does this manager have? Is he a pen pusher? Is he just a yes man and he just goes, all right, cool, I'll go out and see what I can do? That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think what sets some managers and coaches specifically apart is they're given players and they can buy some and they can add some players to that, right? Is can they coach players who they currently have and make them better? So
Yes.
in Liverpool's example, right, they went and bought Salah and Mane, for example. They weren't world class, but Klopp and his coaching team
They identified.
created a system and a structure that put them in there, right? So
Mm.
Roberto Firmino, he's never going to be like a goal machine, but he's sacrificing for the team. And then with Salah, Mane, and Firmino over the game, they scored over 600 goals, right, in those 4 or 5 seasons when they were like bang on it, like probably the most goals, for a front three, right? So it's a system they create, and if Salah went to another team, he might not be as effective as he is at Liverpool, for example, and vice versa. So it depends. The club that you're playing for, the environment, how they feel, how they adapt.
The thing is, when you make food, you start with, if you make a pizza, you make the dough, then you put the sauce, and then you put the cheese and the ingredients, right? You don't do it any other way. I know that's food and that's different to football. When you build a house, you build a foundation, you build the floor, and then you build the bricks and the windows, yeah? So when you give the manager a job, and he says the foundation's not correct, forget results. Don't come to me for top four and trophies and results. I'm not interested. The foundation's not correct. I need to buy key positions to build the foundation. I need to build a spine going that way. I need to put some width, and I need a decent goalkeeper. This is what Klopp did at Liverpool. He built the foundation. He bought Alisson. He bought Van Dijk, and he then started to make his pizza. And Liverpool fans were patient, and you lot have to give FSG a lot of respect because they didn't sack him.
And then to add to, so we sold Coutinho, right? Got 140 million from Barcelona. Don't know how they managed
Robbery, bruv. Robbery.
Bought obviously Alisson, Van Dijk as kind of like the spine of the team, but then we picked up like Robertson for 8 million from Hull, who got relegated that season, right?
But that's the coaching bit.
Yeah. We bought Gini Wijnaldum for like 30 million, and he was more of a number 10, but he became a more defensive player, right? So it's buying those. You work within your budget,
Your budget,
right?
yeah.
And Liverpool's budget previously maybe still is.
But you see those key pieces. You see the key ones, the Zinchenkos, the Jesuses. The manager has to be backed for them. When he says, I want him because he's the profile, and I know him because you might know him through scouts or he's worked with him. In Arteta's case, he'd worked with both those players. What did Arsenal do? They didn't mess about till the end of the transfer window. They went and got Jesus, and then went and got Zinchenko, I think within the same couple of weeks or something like that. And they just basically said, there you go. Today, if Zinchenko and Jesus won in that team and they got these B versions of those targets, Arsenal probably wouldn't be in a title race because they'd had some B-Tech version of Zinchenko from Europe that's not played in the Premier League and some B-Tech Jesus. So this is why managers are sometimes smashed to pieces, but they're not given what they want and they're not given full control. So if Potter's not given what he wants and he's not given full control, Chelsea fans might say, yeah, get him out. But they have no right to say get him out if he ain't got full control and he hasn't got what he wants. But before we end, what I would say is you still should be doing better with what you've got. That's the debate, isn't it? It's all right. We're not going to see the best of Graham Potter or Conte or whoever these managers are, but we still need to see something with what you've got. You've still got some nice pieces there.
But the other thing, like, Chelsea bought all these players, right? And a lot of these players are like from foreign shores. And these are, if you think they're young men, right? Probably English ain't their first language, completely different culture, and they expect you to perform straight away. Rightly so, because you're paying big money and they're big wages. But there is a bedding in period. And so, and in Liverpool's example, for example, Klopp would bring in players and sometimes he would leave them out for 6 months to integrate within the team. And then you'll be like thinking, what's going on here, right? We bought this player, we ain't seen him for 6 months. He's been in and out of the team, but that's the integration period. So people got to take that into account. Is these are young men from foreign shores.
Always judge him in the second season. Always judge them in the second season.
It's like if we went to work abroad, right, didn't speak a word of the language, we would find it difficult.
Well, I bet you Mudryk or someone like Mudryk next season will be smashing it.
Probably.
Because you can't. The Premier League is so like you get half the time you get in La Liga. Which is why the La Liga football is better because they get time to think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're playing that more thinking thing.
But sometimes clubs can act on whim, right? So in the 94 or 96, I don't know, one of the World Cups in the 90s, right? Liverpool went and bought El Hadji Diouf. Do you remember him for Senegal, right? And he ripped up in that tournament. And we went and bought him, and he was a complete flop. So they could be the flavor of the month. Or they
sometimes
do.
a player don't play this. Sometimes the managers
Yeah.
don't play the player to their system. But listen, I'm
Yeah.
conscious of time, guys. Man,
Cool.
I would love to keep going on and on and on, and we'll have to pick this up on the next debate. And if you guys are interested on one-on-one conversations, I'd love to do more of that as well as the Sunday debate. Sunday debate's more of a general conversation. But if you guys want to pick some topics and say, you know, I want to talk about money in football, you know, whatever it is, what we've been discussing, this channel is all about covering not just the games, but you know, football generally across the board. And listen, there's a few people that have come in the comments tonight. I want to thank Rinks, want to thank Jono, want to big up Dums as well, the Chelsea fan who was on our show on Wednesday. And you guys, man, you lot, I don't know if you're on coffee at the moment or what you're on at the moment, but you've hung it out from 9 o'clock. That's 3 hours. This is now getting ridiculous. We need to bring it to 1 hour, not 3 hours, but I'll work on that, guys. Leave that to me. Give us a like, give us a share. Sully, we'll see you Sunday, hopefully. Sage, we'll see you Sunday, hopefully, as well, mate. Good luck to your respective teams. Peace out. Good night. Love, unity, and everything else. And I'll see you soon, chaps. Take care.
All right. Good night,
See you later,
everyone.
lads. See you later.
Bless.